And we're live.
And we are live, everybody. Welcome. That's right. That's right. This is not Mav talking because Mav is on his deathbed. He rolled his ass on in here. Caitlin did to just show up for one of his last episodes. So everybody gather around. Again, we're accepting cards and flowers and prayers on his behalf. But everybody stare at the dead man. It's dead man walking tonight. Let's go. Mav is here, though. But that's right. He gave me the lead chair because he can't talk very much. So if you guys showed up hoping you were going to get a Mav rant tonight, you're not going to get a Mav rant tonight at all because he could talk for like 2 seconds before he has to call Caitlin up to give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. So that should be fun tonight. It's going to be a blast.
It's called strategy.
Yeah, maybe. It's called desperation. Kind of like Jim Ryan buying Bungie. Anyways, everybody, welcome to episode 194 of Xbox Ultimate. That's right. I will be your host this evening, the one and only Pong Soul. That's right. Since you didn't do PM in the PM last night, I guess you're going to get kind of that version tonight with me leading. So this should be wild and wacky and fun tonight, as it always is, because we got a lot of news this week, actually, to talk about. We've been struggling for news. In fact, Mav canceled Xbox Ultimate last week, go play some college football because there was no news. But here we are this week. Mav can't talk, and there's a ton of shit going on. So we're gonna get the rest of the family involved tonight, obviously. So let's go around the horn here and see who we got. Psychonauts should be dropping into, by the way. He hit us up in the DMs and said he's gonna be a little bit late, but he should be here. But great to see you all. But let's start with the rare appearance, the man from outer space, the one and only Jasper, the actually guy. What's going on, Jaspy? Great to have you here, brother.
Yeah, it's I've been doing a lot of growing, a lot of learning. So just fun stuff. Been a
Jaspy's growing up, everybody.
Learning life lessons.
I'm doing pretty good.
Oh,
Sore shit, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
You still having fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You ready to tell us secrets?
I can't do that.
Damn it. One day. Actually, we're gonna get you back on camera and see how your poker face is like 3-bit.
I'm sure it's way better than mine.
Can't cover shit. So, anyways, great to have you here, though, Jasmine. Thank you so much for joining us, brother. It's awesome to hear your voice, man. Always miss you weekly. So, anytime we can get you back on, man. Thank you for being here. Let's go to 3-bit, the man without a poker face. The man who has been stirring up a little Twitter controversy himself. He likes to write essays from time to time on Twitter, which X, formerly known as Twitter, which nobody enjoys. And everybody gets all upset about people writing essays because they don't have check marks, so they can't write essays, so they get pissed off that somebody does. But 3-bit does not have any issues doing that. And he did another one this week concerning Jim Ryan getting absolutely robbed by Bungie and the whole Bungie situation. But 3-bit, how the hell are you, brother? How many more games have you ruined this month? Is Avowed your fault? Can we count that one up in the 3-bit?
That one is that's my fault. See, okay. What happened was I came back to the offices. I forgot my my potted plant.
Yes.
I spilled some coffee on the server, so that's what happened. But hello, everyone.
About, huh? Okay.
I have been stirring some Twitter controversy, just talking about the Bungie stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into. But it's been a good week, good gaming week. I finished the championships for NBA 2K, and I did up the difficulty a little bit.
Nice.
Because I was playing on easy mode for a while, but I was like, you know what, I'm ready for a challenge. Yeah, we talked about this on PXE. I was just like, I just love just absolutely just wrecking people and just getting that Wilt Chamberlain record. And then eventually I was like, okay, this is too easy. So I upped the difficulty just in time for the championships and NBA 2K, and then I did it. Now I'm back in Phoenix Right Land. So
nice.
Ace Attorney.
Congratulations. Are you still married?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. Just gotta double check.
Yeah,
like Jasper, you're learning a lot of real life lessons right now too.
All the lessons.
So, so I always gotta ask. Not everybody can survive.
We're
so-
actually doing. I forgot. We're doing a thing on we're doing a show on PXE probably next week.
Okay.
You'll see
Oh,
something.
by the way, I forgot to mention I'm married now.
Oh, dang! A
What?
lot has happened.
I'm just fucking.
That would be crazy.
I was waiting.
Oh yeah, I
was-
forgot. I
Man,
actually
space
almost
changes
believed.
people quickly.
for a
Well,
Let me tell you.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me because some people I know get married in the military just for the extra paycheck in the living quarters.
Yep.
So
Yep.
That sounds like a Jasper move. We got
yeah,
a
it is
contract.
like a strategist.
It's okay. It's okay. It helps. Jasper, speaking of Dave, wait, I forgot to ask you. You been able to play anything, or you been way too busy?
I've been busy quite a bit, so like I'm like jumping maybe like 30 minutes in a game. I'm like I just can't like focus on games right now. It's just like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Figured as much, man. So, but that's cool. Had to ask just in case you had tried anything out that you want to shout out. So, let's get to the one and only Mr. Cool himself, the Fuzzy Belvedere. Fuzzy, are you muted or are you live, sir? I wonder.
I'm live now. I'm on my road setup, so it might be a
On
little
the road
shaky.
again.
Yeah, over at Monster Mania in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Got to take a photo with Robert England.
Nice. Congrats.
Just been wandering around, seeing some of the vendors out here. They got some of the people from the Scream 5 and 6 out here as well. Hellraiser, Jeepers Creepers and stuff. Homelander canceled kind of last minute, but some people were pissed off about that. But
Oh, sure.
well, other than
Typical Homelander move.
that, yeah, I'm surprised he didn't like wait until like hours before he's supposed to show up and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna make it. But no, just having fun here. Haven't played that many games other than like well, I got my Steam Deck with me, so I got stuff that can play offline like Sifu and what else did I play? I tried earlier playing what do you call them? Forza Horizon 5, but I can't get the remote play to work from my phone, so I'm just doing what do you call them? xCloud on the Steam Deck via Edge browser, so I got that going. But just been watching all these takes on Twitter about Bungie, and man, who would have thought that was going to be the more valuable acquisition than Activision? I think somebody said that a while ago, but
Yeah.
it sucks. But I'm pretty sure we'll get into it. And then you got all the stuff that there's going to be over at Gamescom and some other delays. We kind of heard or saw some things about those delays, but it is what it is. We'll get into that as well. But man, just glad to be here with everybody. Glad we got Jasper here. Glad we got 3-Bit here. Always love being on here with you, Pong and Mav. So yeah, let's do this, and hopefully Psycho will be here not too long from now. So yeah, it's gonna be a full house.
Hey guys, how you doing? I can't wait. Chat, you looking amazing out here tonight. Thank you everybody for joining us again. A week off. Mav's been sick. Not a lot of shows going on, but this is a big news week. So thanks for dropping on into Xbox Ultimate again, episode 194 tonight. I see Steel Rain in there, brother. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow morning too. He's in there bragging that he beat Flintlock on Possessed, because of course he did.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
Is that
Anyways,
is that hard? Like
that's the hardest.
Yeah.
That's the god tier one.
like the extra hard or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. But anyways, he'll say it was no big deal. He's just playing the game, and that's just how he does it. So, but anyways, Mav, I don't know how long you can make it here, bro. But give me your 5-second spiel. How's your week been?
It's been okay.
have you played anything?
I have played some college football, and I've played Path of the Goddess. Has been kind of my two games, and I got more into Path of the Goddess. It's been awesome game. I love the strategy of it. College football, I've been playing like Ultimate Team because I haven't continued my Ken Bardu Road to Glory mode since my last stream when I lost the Bardu Bowl when I went back and played the South Carolina Gamecocks. I was blowing them out, and then they came back and beat me in the fourth quarter. I was pretty disappointed.
Shocking. How many interceptions?
2 in the fourth quarter.
Of course. Of course.
I before that it was pretty good. But yeah, I've been playing Ultimate Team on there,
Nice.
but just doing the challenges and stuff. They got a lot of work to do on Ultimate Team in college football. It's not like as fleshed out and polished as it is on as Madden, but they're getting there. I've already seen a lot of improvements in the meantime. But yeah, I've been having fun with it, just doing challenges, kind of upgrading my team. Been playing. I actually played some online games on there as well.
Nice.
Got my ass handed to me a couple times, and I've done pretty good a couple times. So
Okay.
yeah, been having fun with it. But yeah, other than that, man, like the first 3 days of this thing, I was just in this delirious state of just constant, like, didn't know what the hell was going on. So I was just like, play a little bit, kind of just sit there. I glued into the bedroom now for like 5 days. This is probably the most time I've spent out of the bedroom in this last hour since Monday.
Quarantine, baby. Ain't it fun?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been great. It's been awesome.
Hey, you're just like you're still married.
If this thing didn't kill me, I think my wife would have.
You're right.
Yeah, she was,
I know she would have.
Yeah, she's about ready to. She's about ready to kill me, I think.
Yeah.
But she takes good care of me. She made me some homemade soup Monday.
She throws your food at you.
Yeah. And here you go, bitch.
Sicky. Take this shit. Sicky. Yeah. I'm going back to the pool. I know she was hanging out at the pool a lot.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, she's like, well, his sick ass. She's like, go take a nap. I'm gonna swim.
Right.
That was happening a lot this week. So it was fun.
Love it, man. Well, at least you got to play a little something while you've been laid up. I didn't know if you played it at all, because obviously sometimes you get so sick you just don't even.
You know, it's like the thing sometimes, like you like, oh, I want some sick days. I want to actually get sick so I can have some time off or whatever. And then like you actually like are that sick where you can't fucking enjoy anything, you know? And it's like that kind of thing is like, okay, this is like different, you know? But yeah, it's I'm on the upswing for sure. It's just now I have this like low energy thing, lingering congestion and cough, and but right now I'm okay. I think I'm pretty good. So
glad you're pulling through, Mav. Community.
Yeah, I'm gonna live
for a while. Yeah, the community was worried. We all got together.
You didn't seem too worried. You said I had the sniffles.
You did have the sniffles. I know you.
Yeah. The second I saw Mav cancel a show because he's sick, I was like,
I know. That's I gotta give him a hard time. So well, that's good. Yeah, as far as my week goes, same rotation for me this week, minus Kinitagami. I kind of put that to the side because I've been so focused on First Descendant. With the update happening, obviously, I'm sure many of you, that was part of the news this week, saw the couple of the amazing new outfits that they've brought over. God bless the Eastern devs. God bless them. Every single one of them, because they still get it, man. And they had a swimsuit for my girl, Viesa. So, of course, I gave them some more money because I do support the devs out here. Especially when they do good work with the outfits. And you guys know I ain't afraid to admit it. I like sexy mofos running around on my screen. So I went and got her nice swimsuit. But I've been actually grinding this week for Luna, the new character. So I've already got her first. I just got her first of 3. There's 3 things that you have to go for to build out to get the character. I got the first one done, so I've only got 2 more blueprints to find to farm for, and then I'll have Luna, and I won't have to pay for her. So, but having a freaking blast with it, it continues to get better and better. Devs, in fact, put out another patch today. They just put out a massive patch, an update, and they just put out another patch today. I thought Jez's post was pretty good about it. He's like, apparently the First Descendant devs aren't allowed to sleep because they put out another patch just 2 days, a day after putting out the other, or 2 days after they're putting out the first patch, the massive one. So First Descendant, I'm locked in on. Again, this game is going to be in the rotation for a long time. I love this game. Doesn't get sickening, doesn't get boring no matter what I'm doing. If I get bored of that a current run that I'm doing farming wise, I just go do something else. There's always stuff to earn in this game. You're always unlocking stuff. Freaking blast, man. This team nailed it. And then the other game that I've been working on, outside of First Descendant this week has been Dungeons of Hinterberg. Dungeons of Hinterberg is an absolute. It's just such a, again, minus the story. I don't even like the story. I don't like the writing. I don't like the characters. That tells you how good this freaking game is, because gameplay will always be king, right? But the gameplay is just so damn good. The areas are so different from each other. The enemies and their attacks are all different. You got to learn them. And there's loot, and the dungeons are cool. The puzzles are cool. They're not complicated. I just got to the snow area the other night, and I had briefly seen it. Somebody post about it, but you get to the snow area and you get a freaking hoverboard that you get to freaking zoom around on, man. It's freaking dope. It's so much fun. Each area, for people who don't know, in Dungeons of Hinterberg, each area you get 2 magic spells specific for that area. You have special kind of actions that you can use. You can call it magic if you want to. You got, like tornado spins, you can dive underneath the ground and create rock, rocks that harm people underneath the ground. Those stay constant. You could select from different ones that you find out. But the magic for each different area that you go into is very specific for that area. So you go in and you get new magic spells every time you go into a new area, and they're going to be different from the other ones. Some of them are similar, obviously shoot something so you can figure out some of the puzzles and that kind of stuff. But again, I went into the snow area also, and I got a freaking hoverboard that acts like a snowboard. So I'm going off jumps and all this kind of stuff and just cruising around the snow area. You can run over enemies on the hoverboard. The hoverboard is actually a weapon too. It's freaking dope. This game is freaking amazing. Again, I think it's a husband and wife team that did this game. Shout out to them, man. Again, outside of the story, it wasn't meant for me. I'm too old. I just don't like the writing. But anyways, it doesn't matter. The game itself is just beautiful. It's fun. It's polished. I've yet to come across a bug in this entire game that I've played through. I'm like 11 dungeons in now or something like that. 12 dungeons in. I can't remember where I'm at. 11, 12 dungeons in. There's a total of 25 dungeons in Hinterberg that you're supposed to clear out. But anybody who hasn't tried Dungeons of Hinterberg, go try it. It is worth the download and just to see if you like it. But the gameplay is fun as hell. And again, just even the town without the story, there's side quests, everything, everywhere. There's people that you meet. You go do different stuff for them. You go buy the weapons at the weapons shop. You can upgrade. You open up all these different upgrades as you build up relationships with other people. They open up new things, new mechanics to your character that you can add to the gameplay. It's just a great game, man. What a great addition to Game Pass. Very impressed by it. Was not on my plan that Dungeons of Hinterberg I would be more locked into than Kinutsugami. Not that Kinutsugami is fantastic. I posted about that the first couple of days when I was playing it. I was locked into Kinutsugami. But just as the ease of play at night when I'm settling down, Dungeons of Hinterberg is just quick play through, man. You don't even have to do a dungeon. You can go find an area. They've got these rest areas that you can find in each map. And if you rest at them, that takes up your day, but you gain more health. So it increases your health bar. So if you just spend the day at the rest stop, okay, cool. And then the next day is you go into nighttime, you decide what you want to do at nighttime, and then you're done with your day. So then you could save, you're all done. Quick, easy in and out. It's awesome, man. Dungeons of Hinterberg has really, really been a great game. So that's been my week. Other than that, that's it. So I don't know, where do we want to start, ladies and gentlemen?
Boom was just sending me some stuff in the DM. It was about Tom Warren had made a post about the Switch hardware units sold. Was also down comparatively to
Of course. Why
So
would they be selling those Switches still?
right, it's 46% down on hardware for the Switch, and software sales is also down 41%. I think
They're
it's
done.
just it's
the end of life.
Everyone has one.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody that wants one now has one for the Switch. Whatever. Again, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they're ready to launch this new one
Yes.
next year.
I mean,
Way
yeah, it's
past
good
time.
timing. Like, okay,
Yeah.
everyone has one now. Let's do another one.
Oh,
And then people just start to buy that one.
this is a fantastic strategy. I mean, they played it out perfectly. They couldn't have played it any better had
Mhm.
they even
I think
totally.
they said it was their longest running generation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which
It would be.
if you compare so I think the Xbox financials had come out and they were down 40 something percent in hardware, right? And but then they also announced that they had 500 million monthly active users, which
Of
is
course.
So
We knew
like it's just, I think this just paints to like different strategies. It's still,
It's
that's all it is, you know.
That's all it is. I mean, we can talk. I don't know why everybody wants to continue talking about console wars and all. The console wars are over, everybody. I don't know why you fools are still out here running around console warring. It's over with.
People
it's done.
doom and gloom on any of the hardware sales reports, right?
But there's nothing to win. There's no championship to win. There's no trophy at the end of the year. And guess what? All three are now playing different games. All three of these companies are now playing different games. If you guys haven't figured this shit out, if you fanboys on all sides have not figured out that everybody right now is playing a different game, I can't tell you anymore. Like you have to go realize this shit. Again, Satya came out and told you exactly the evolution of Xbox, what they are doing. Phil talked about it a long time ago, 2 to 3 billion people. Sony is not ready and in some ways cannot go play the same game. They're more than welcome to do what Xbox is doing, but they're not in the position to in a lot of ways, and they don't want to in a lot of ways because they're still finding massive success through the old way. Nintendo separated themselves a long ass time ago. They've been in their own pond for a long ass time doing their thing and printing money. So I don't know why we continue this nonsense. Yeah, Satya came out this week and said we now have 500 million active users. In fact, we knew that math going into the Activision Blizzard King the whole acquisition itself when they got into court documents because we started seeing the numbers. Remember, we saw the amount of users. Remember, there was people posting the graphs, how much more monthly active users that Xbox already had over Sony, and that what Activision Blizzard King would do would push them near 500 million. Well, guess what? Satya comes out and now says, hey, we got 500 million active users. Well, yeah, you inherited all the ABK active users, of course. That's part of your plan. They're going to reach 1 billion users. People laughed when those numbers started getting thrown around. They are going to reach those numbers. Come hell or high water, they're going to reach those numbers. And you don't have to like how they're doing it. You don't have to like the evolution. You don't have to like how they're not competing anymore, that they just really, honestly don't care one way or another if you buy a console. They don't. But this is the new Xbox. Yeah, I know.
They raised the prices of the Xbox console in Japan. That's a detriment to the sales pitch.
They don't care. They don't. Most of the Japanese play on cloud and mobile.
Mm-hmm.
They don't.
And we just saw that the Xbox mobile app or whatever leaked, right?
Yes.
Or
yeah. Well, they actually said that they were it was already supposed to be out, and then they had an update. I think today. I can't remember if it was Jez or Warren, and one of them said that they got told that they're still working on it and they'll have information soon, but they're getting close. They're getting close. But yeah, no, you know what? That doesn't mean Xbox is dead. That doesn't mean that I hate Xbox and I'm quitting Xbox. That doesn't mean that, oh God, they don't know what they're doing. No, they're doing something completely different. They've been doing something different. They just kind of escalated it real quick. They accelerated it real quick with ABK. So guess what? They're going to come out with more hardware. And guess what? They're going to try to change the game again by creating hardware that might just allow us to play in a whole bunch of different ecosystems. So they're going to change how things are done again for them. They don't care what the fuck Sony's doing. They don't. They don't care anymore. They're done. So this nonsense about this shit, about comparing financials and all this kind of stuff, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're talking about a $3 trillion company. They don't care. They don't care. They're doing what they want to do right now. The numbers are increasing where they want to see them increasing. Sure, we could all sit back and say Game Pass should be bigger by now with all the moves they've made. Absolutely. But the facts are the facts.
When Call of Duty comes out.
We'll see what happens when Call of Duty comes out. They're still trying, right? They're still trying. They haven't given up. They're dropping one of the biggest games every single fucking year. They're dropping one of the biggest sellers every single year into Game Pass for everybody. Doesn't sound like a team trying to give up. Sounds like somebody trying to go for the gusto, trying to see really what they can push and see how it all fleshes out. So I don't know. Who's got thoughts on this? Do we care about the console sales dipping? Do we care that it doesn't look good? Of course it doesn't look good. Of course. But does anybody else have any thoughts? Do we care about Xbox?
I've seen the future, and I've been telling you the future. The console market's been going downhill for a long time, so it's just that's the road we're headed. And if it takes people this long to see it, I don't just tell them. Just
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since you have all these articles that always focuses on how well Sony is doing within the console market.
Yeah.
Yet the current head of PlayStation is like, hey, we need to start focusing on software. Like that should be our metric for success, because that is recurring revenue. And we know PlayStation has done things to make the console more profitable for the PS5, like taking out parts of it, making cheaper parts manufacturing on the PS5 to possibly make more of a profit there. But at the same time, what makes the most money is just recurring revenue, subscription. It's the reason why so many subscription services are not just a one-time model anymore. Like if Adobe, for example, used to be able to buy Photoshop, you can't do that anymore. You have to you have to pay for it every single month in order to use it. They did that because at the end of the day, that you make more of a profit that way. And I think Sony started to realize that. Jim started to realize that. Say what you want, but he that's why he's tried to shift the model to a bunch of live service games. Now a lot of those got canceled, but they were doing that, in my opinion, to sort of mitigate of what they were seeing in the future, which is so much focus on what the premium single player type experiences. But in terms of Xbox, I mean, I feel like they seen this coming a while ago, started to shift that model from just focusing on console sales to the subscription model. And they've been pretty strong in the subscription side of things for a while now. Whether it's focusing on Game Pass, Xbox Live has always had like more of a more consistent player count than PSN for sure. So we'll see what ends up happening, whether Sony starts to adjust their business model. I'm sure they are figuring out ways to do that, but they, like Pong was saying in the intro, they don't have the same money as Microsoft to compete in the same exact way. They're not going to compete in the same exact way. So what I'm curious about is in what ways are they going to adapt and try things out, whether that's more live service games, like they cancel some, like maybe that comes back. Maybe they try different things with PSN Plus, a little bit more day one releases, things like that, to try and get more people on a more consistent basis.
I'm
subscribe.
more curious about their live service future now because of like everything that's happened with Bungie, and even Concord, they don't have like this live service battle passy type element to it. It's just like $40, and I think it's maybe set up so that way they can move on from it. Almost, it seems like, you know, be kind of one and done type thing. But like, Helldivers 2 is the only really successful one they have, and maybe GT7 if you consider that. But like with Bungie now and everything that's been going on with that, the cost associated, the losses that they've had to deal with, the cuts, and then all the past cancellations we found out about, and then now seeing what Concord is as opposed to what it's not. I'm kind of more questioning like what their real vision is for this live service future.
So hard.
It's weird.
I think it's so hard to predict PlayStation's future right now because like we've seen where like for 2 or 3 years they invested so much into live service, and then they started canceling all those projects and shifting away. It's like we're still going to get some of those because they're so far along to just put them out, but like now they have to switch over back to single player or smaller experience games with also the PlayStation VR. They've just invested in so many different directions that never worked out. So it's like it's so difficult to see where their future is right now.
That was just stupid from the get. Like, I mean, we tried to say like there's no market. There's no market.
There's no market. Why put all your eggs in those baskets? Fuzzy, what do you think, brother? You got anything on this whole situation as far as number? Do you care about the Xbox numbers and the drop off, and do you care that they only went up what 2%, 3% without Activision Blizzard? Does that tell you that they're failing? Like, does this mean
No,
anything different to you?
I look at it from a couple standpoints. Being retired, I'm a shareholder. As long as this stuff is up or up from where I purchased it like 15 years ago, I'm good. As a gamer, I think as long as the games are coming out, yeah, I get the delays and all that stuff, but as long as they have games that I enjoy playing, like Forza, Motorsport, Forza Horizon, Flight Sim, looking forward to Indiana Jones, things like that, I'm good. As far as the hardware, I already have my console, and I used to joke about it before. It's like, console sales make the gameplay any better? And from my standpoint, it doesn't. I mean, a company that sells more consoles may have more revenue to invest in games, but the way things a lot of these companies have been doing as of late, whether it's Xbox, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's other companies like Intel, the more money they make, it doesn't necessarily mean that it gets reinvested into the whole, ecosystem or whatever. It sometimes just goes into the executive pockets. Look at Bungie, but I'm pretty sure we'll get into that later. But
I mean, the whole Intel situation, look at that shit too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they tried saving their company by investing in it, it backfired. So
yeah. So for me, I as long as I have games to enjoy, I'm good. It's gotten to the point where Game Pass has it where my backlog is starting to build up. I'm still trying to get through some of the games that came out like a week or so ago. So yeah, the numbers on the hardware don't really matter to me. What matters to me as far as hardware is concerned is, when is this handheld coming out? Will it be able to handle console games and PC games, whether it be by emulation or some other means, natively on that hardware? If it does, then I don't need a Steam Deck 2.
Wasn't there a rumor about like the handheld doing something with Intel, or am I?
There was rumors of them working with Intel. There's also rumors of them working with, I guess, Qualcomm or the Snapdragon setup.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of depends. Like if it's the Snapdragon, then I guess we can expect better battery life. So we can get 6 to 8 hours out of, a portable that's playing, most games either 30 frames or maybe some of them 60 frames and still get decent battery life out of it.
Well, that was the thought, right, Fuzzy? Sorry, Fuzzy, but that was the thought when they showed off their new AI laptops, right? Their new AI surfaces, that was the tech that they were going to be potentially using in the handheld, and it was supposedly phenomenal. Everything what we saw, battery life and performance.
Turns out you can't even fucking play Halo on
it.
They're a good software company. They'll hopefully get that stuff figured out here pretty quick or somewhat quick. The Intel stuff, I think they were partnering over like AI chips or something like that.
Yeah, it was one of the fabrication. I think they invest a lot into fabrication plants and stuff, and I guess it was just too much, and they kind of grew too fast for what they had money for.
Well, with whatever they're doing for this next piece of hardware, I'm looking forward to it. It's either going to be that or it's going to be a Steam Deck 2. I mean, the ROG Ally is great and all, Legion Go is great, but I'm more looking forward to either Steam Deck 2 or the Xbox handheld. So that's the only hardware I really care about. As long as my Series X still works, as long as the boys Series S's are collecting dust because they've moved over to PC more so than anything. I'm still kind of dipping both toes in both PC and console. So some games it's just quick and easy to start on console. Other games it's like I want to see all the frames, I want to see all the the pixels and the particles and all the ray tracing I can, and I'll just play it on PC. But as far as the hardware being down, don't really care. As the funny part I saw was people trying to say, well, they failed because if it wasn't for Activision, well, they would be down. And it's like, okay, well, guess what? As of today, or as of pretty much a year ago now, they've been part of Microsoft. So that argument doesn't matter. They are now part of them, so it counts towards it. Now, if they weren't part of it, if they were still trying to acquire them, I could see some argument being made. But once again, who cares? As long as we're getting games, I don't really care about the incidentals in the boardroom and all that crap. That doesn't matter to me. If Activision is carrying it for now, that's great.
That's why they bought them, right? Like it's
exactly. So you want that investment to deliver and get your return on it. That's what it's all about. I mean, let's look over at Bungie. Did they get their return on investment? Probably not, but we'll get into that some more.
It's like the Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl because they got Tom Brady, and they're like, "Well, you only won because you got Tom Brady." We're like, "Of course, that's why we fucking got Tom Brady."
It counts. It's in the record book.
Right? Like, exactly. It's just, that argument doesn't make sense.
It's like very selective. Like, it's like, well, this only happens because of King and Activision Blizzard, and yeah, that they bought that for a reason. And there is no rules to this. There's no rules of like, oh, you're not supposed to acquire this company because that means your profit goes up. Yeah,
it's better that they're successful because of something than negative because of something. Right? Like, what if it was the opposite, and like ABK was causing them problems, like Bungie was PlayStation, right? And then it was like, oh, but this is only negative because of Bungie, right? Or only negative because of ABK. Like, it would still look bad on them either way, you know? Like, it's all, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we used to talk about the sales numbers. We used to talk about all that stuff when we thought they were still competing, right? We did. We talk about the growth or lack thereof, depending on what quarter it was or whatever the case may be. You can go back and watch our old shows where we used to talk about those numbers all the damn time because they were competing, right? Well, at least at that point, we thought they were still competing 1-for-1 with Sony, that they still had a potential to go grab market share and maybe start cutting in and eating into PlayStation's console sales lead. But again, now, not going to keep talking about this stuff when it doesn't matter to Xbox, when it doesn't matter to Microsoft. They took their ball, they went and created their own brand new style, their new game, and they're playing their own game, and they don't care. If somebody wants to come join them, great, but right now nobody can. So Nintendo's doing their thing, Sony's doing their thing, Xbox is doing their thing. Would it be great if their hardware sales were selling? Yes. But realistically, when Xbox doesn't even advertise it that way, when in fact they spend more advertising on telling you how to play their games without a console.
Hey, here's an Amazon Fire Stick.
Yeah, this is gonna be the result. Like, and that's the plan. They don't want people thinking they have to be locked into a console to play their games. They want a billion players.
Say also recently that they have more monthly active users on console than ever before too. On Xbox consoles.
On Xbox console.
Yeah.
That was again, that's been continued growth.
Like, so they haven't lost their Xbox One customers. They're having some people just haven't upgraded
them.
Right.
Yeah, they haven't converted them, but neither has PlayStation, because PlayStation has converted half their players either, right? So it's a different generation. It's a weird generation, but we knew that this generation was going to shape the future potentially of the whole entire industry, and that's exactly what's happening. Good and bad, right? Good and bad. It is what it is. All these layoffs, all these closures, all this kind of shit. Market's correcting itself. Again, these companies went overboard, as companies are wont to do. And now comes the correction. And unfortunately, the correction comes from the small people, right? It doesn't come usually from the bigwigs. And we saw it again this week at Bungie, right? Although a couple of the leads that were very important to Bungie also wound up leaving during the restructuring process, we came to find out. But Parsons himself, he's still there. He got his bag. He's buying cars. You know, it's good.
He's got a nice car too.
He's got a nice car collection. He's got a beautiful car collection. So, I mean, we could touch on it. This is an Xbox show, but we could touch on it a bit because it is Bungie, obviously, who has quite a history with Xbox. So we could touch on it because it's a big part of what's been going on too. Listen, I'll say it again for everybody here who can go back and listen. I was on shows after the Bungie deal and people started talking about how they overpaid. And you will hear me say that I think that Bungie cooked their books. I think Parsons cooked the hell out of their books. I think Microsoft knew who Parsons was. They knew how Bungie does business. And that's why we got word that, in fact, they did offer themselves to Microsoft first, but Microsoft said, yeah, no thanks. You're overvaluating yourself a little too much here, Pete. And said, no, we're not interested. And everybody was up in arms when it came out the news that Xbox had skipped out on picking up Bungie. Look at you now, right? So Pete Parsons robbed Sony. Pete Parsons absolutely robbed Sony. He robbed Jim Ryan. And I think that, listen, there's a couple different ways. You can deny it all you want to. You can say, oh, this was 4D chess by Jim Ryan and Sony, that they knew that Bungie would fail, that they would take them over.
No, see, this was Xbox's plan to have a former Xbox studio go in and sabotage PlayStation.
Sure, you go with that route too, Jasper. You can go that route too. I don't believe it for a damn minute. I believe Jim thought he was getting. I think that Sony was desperate, as we talked about when they went and made this deal. I think that they were losing. They knew they were going to lose ABK to Xbox, that Call of Duty was going to be gone. Jim was desperately trying to figure out how he was going to get his games as a service games off the ground. Again, this is at the exact same time when he was talking about 12 games and whatever it was, 4 years or whatever the hell he was talking about. He was desperate. I'm sure, and people could sit here and go, oh, you're telling me that Sony, $1 billion company, didn't look at the books and didn't realize that Parsons would be cooking those. You see what you want to see in times of desperation. You overlook stuff when you are desperate. That's why I believe this was a complete desperation play. I believe that Jim took Parsons at his word on some things when it came to the financials and what position Bungie was in. And I think that he signed off on the deal. And I also think this is why Jim got walked out the door. I think Hiroki Totoki took a look at the books for real and figured out what the hell they had just bought. And that this was not sustainable.
Yep.
And I think that was the moment when upper Sony management from the East stepped in and said, Jim, do this 2 ways. Okay? You can be escorted out or we can get you cookies. Which one do you want?
Cookies.
Cookies. Jim took the cookies.
So tired of flying, though, all these trips.
Yeah, so tired of flying for sure. I think Jim got worked over by Parsons and Bungie upper management, and this is the end result. Again, for the people that just want to say Sony ruined Bungie, it's quite obvious now. Knowing Bungie's history, like we all do, it's been very public how many times, leaving Microsoft, signing with Activision, leaving Activision, signing with Sony, that it was actually Parsons and the upper management of Bungie that did Bungie in here. They bloated their studio, thinking that their game was unstoppable, thinking that they could do no wrong, thinking that they could rob Peter to pay Paul, and that they would eventually turn it around. 1,300 employees for a studio that produced 1 game. Again, we talk about pipelines. We talk about the development houses around the world. We talk about these big publishers. Listen, you can't run a studio like that in this day and age, especially with the salaries and what people are being paid right now. That is a whole lot of overhead to carry around, even on a successful live service game like Destiny 2. But then you start making mistakes with Destiny 2. You start losing some of your fan base. Yep, there's going to be tough times ahead. Unfortunately, again, it's the little people. Meanwhile, Parsons took the bag from Jim. And for anybody who isn't aware, until he locked down his X account this week, once people started digging in, he went on a spending spree. Over $2.4 million in collectors' cars and bikes. People asking, like, 3-bit over here?
It was because of 3-bit's Auto Trader ads.
Where that 1.2 billion? Where'd that 1.2 billion extra dollars from Sony go to retain the employees? That all lasted of what? 8 months? Not even quite a year before they did their initial round last year of 100 plus employees gone, and now 220. Wow. I think we can kind of see where some of those funds went, right? Right. It's kind of like Zelensky and his boys over in Ukraine, all of a sudden all owning yachts and shit, right? Weird. Wonder where all that came from during the middle of a war. Anyways, so this is what you wind up with. And the little people get burnt. And I feel awful for all the Bungie people that lost their jobs. I feel awful. Again, we always talk about this. The human element always comes first. It's shit. Shit for all those people. It's shit for all the families. Everybody who busted their ass trying to make things right. They all have a right to be pissed off at this one, for sure. Everybody does, right? It obviously was bad management. Parsons came out and admitted that in his little talk that they were running in the red. And he knew it. And we just did what we could. While I was buying cars and bikes, I did what I could to save it, but it just couldn't save it, man. We just had to do something. Now, I'm glad some of the people got transferred into Sony. I'm glad the smaller team got broken off and is becoming a Sony studio. But yeah, at the end of the day, Hiroki is taking control. He put Herman Holston over it. According to Jeff Grubb, I believe Grubb. I think some people owe some insiders, some apologies this week for a couple different things. But I think Grubb's right here. I think Herman Holston is now in charge. And Sony is going to take up that contract that was agreed to. And now that Bungie's failed, they are going to absorb Bungie. And this is just the beginning. There's going to be more cuts here. Now we hear that Destiny 3 or whatever it was, the side project that they were doing that was going to be a follow-up to Destiny has already been shelved and now will be pretty much permanently shelved for the time being because ain't nobody touching that now that they've gone this far down the road. It's come out. Destiny 2, don't expect the big updates anymore. They're going to put all their focus in the Marathon and hope and pray to the gaming gods that Marathon becomes the next big thing. So that sets it all up. So let's go. Psychonauts. Let's get Psycho in here because Psycho joined us. Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey everybody.
What's going on, Psycho? How you been, brother?
I'm doing fantastic. Living life, slinging some consoles, and
No more Gameinformer though.
Dude, that was kind of heartbreaking because
we're gonna talk about it.
Did you have to go like dump a bunch of magazines in the dumpster at work?
no.
Today?
So we do have a bunch, at the store, but no, because they kind of been going digitally, and then there is a whole subscription that you can get just for the magazines alone, and really no one bid on that. No one really. I don't think they care too much. And then now, with this news all day today, what's going to happen to my magazine subscription? What's going to happen? I'm like, well, y'all, I don't know yet. We don't know. All we know that whenever the final day is where they're going to stop printing, will be the last of the physical and digitally, because they're just not gonna be around anymore, and it's the end of an era for Gameinformer. And they've been that's probably one magazine that I kept reading that was honest to a point with some of with most of the reviews, and just really great how they structured a lot of stuff. I feel bad for Living Split Screen because they did their Gameinformer this week in gaming, I think, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, we won't be able to use that anymore for tidbits.
Mead Steel use it too Saturday mornings.
Yeah, because the website's gone. Fuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I have to I don't want to use IGN.
Oh yeah. They're gonna be like, oh, these games are shit. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it's gonna affect a lot of people in many different ways, and it's sad to see. And we'll see if anyone picks up the mantle and does the right thing, or this is it for physical media when it comes to magazines. It's kind of going to the wayside, it looks. Everyone's gonna fall back on AI article rating, and we're gonna get dog shit reviews and really bad. I don't even know they still do like what is it, Electronic Weekly or
no? Yeah, Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Yeah,
AGM. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I think that's been gone. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I only followed Gameinformer because that was relevant with GameStop. So but other than that, I've been playing Ni no Kuni 2.
Nice.
I've been playing a lot of that. Oh, love it. I've never I played it for a little. I played the first one for a little bit when it came to Game Pass. and I need to get back into that one as well. But this one, I was watching a Studio Ghibli movie the other night, and I was like, man, I wish I could play something. I'm like, oh yeah, fucking Nino Kuni. So I threw that in, and it's been fun.
Good. Awesome. So, Psycho,
Yeah.
thoughts on Bungie?
Fucking, I'll tell you this. Boy, did they pull the fucking wool over Sony and Jim Ryan's eyes with cooking their books, saying everything's fucking great here, nothing to see, and then we're seeing there's a lot of issues going on. There's if Sony never acquired them, would they still be here? That's the thing that I don't think anyone's really asking. That I saw on social media outside of like one or two people, but that's the thing. It's they needed to get acquired because they knew that if they didn't, they wouldn't be around, and they sold his hopes and dreams to Sony, and Sony was kind of like, fuck, Microsoft is buying up these exclusives. We need to get into the games of a service. Who better than old Microsoft, old Xbox dev Bungie? And little did they know that wasn't the answer. And we saw them monetizing the shit out of Destiny 2, and it still didn't help Bungie in the end, and it put a bad taste in a lot of the Bungie in the Destiny community. So it's like, now they're at a point that Sony will devour Bungie, who they are. Now, are they going to just fold the whole entire company? Is that part of the agreement that once they get absorbed, do they keep the Bungie name? Do they lose the Bungie name? Is the guy that Mike Parsons, is he if he stops buying cars, can he buy the Bungie name back so he can keep and one day open up the studios back again and try to salvage what they have? But they're a former shell of who they were. You can't look at them now and look at them as the great Halo developer, and they're not those people anymore. They're all that most of that talent's gone, and and people are now afraid, who are still there, what will happen in the future, in the next quarter. Are they going to be around? Are they going to have their jobs? Because it's every quarter it seems like Bungie's getting halved every time. So it's like, now we're at the point where, fuck, what is Bungie going to be doing? What is the next step for Bungie? And I don't think Sony has a plan for that or has an answer. I don't even think anyone at Bungie has an answer. What's next? I think they're going to try to bring out Marathon, and again, they did not get a good reception from the Escape from Tarkov community with when the game was tested within them, and who knows if it's going to release, if they're going to exit. We already seen Sony already kill many games as a service games. Will Marathon be the next thing if it's not, if it doesn't do well, or if it's not being praised to the point where do they try to make it exclusive to Sony, which to me would be a bad idea. I think you're lessening the player group, and if people outside of PlayStation and possibly PC that want to play it, and they're gonna say, fuck it, you guys keep that, you keep the Bungie games, and we're good where we are with Microsoft and everything that's coming out, like Fragpunk, and we already have Overwatch 2.
I think it's pretty obvious that obviously the contract is pretty black and white between them two, right? And they had to hit certain marks, right? Otherwise, someone
Correct.
gets to absorb them. And I don't think Parsons is going to take the name. I don't think anybody's going to walk on. Parsons is going to be toxic if he leaves Bungie. Even if he opens a new studio, there's not going to be too many people that want to go work for that guy.
No,
right? His name has been muddied now by himself for his bragging and for the way that he's handled things. It's quite clear that so him even trying to get back the name, I think that Sony probably would hold on to the Bungie name because it still does have meaning, right? And even if they restructure it, or even if they, make it much smaller than it is currently, I think they will function as a Bungie, as Bungie the name, as a group underneath Sony first party. I mean, I just think it's going to be, right alongside Naughty Dog and Insomniac and all the rest. So I think that makes a lot of sense. That's exactly what's happening. Again, I think Hiroki Totoki, again, as he stated, not direct quote paraphrasing, but when he went and toured all of the studios, when he was the acting president, the interim president of PlayStation, and he came back and said, hey, guys and gals, you guys are great at creating. We love you for that, but you guys don't know jack shit about business. You don't know how to run a business. I think this is the first shots fired by Hiroki. I think this is a big tell. Again, that he knew what the books were looking like and that he called it out.
The only thing I like with my initial reaction to this, was the amount of pressure on Marathon's success. Because if it's not successful, that is probably
that's a nail.
That's for sure. Like, I don't know what happens to Bungie period after that. Like, even if they're absorbed or whatever, like, just for the cost of running a studio like that, so
especially with those type of games like BR extraction shooter stuff like that, those are the biggest freaking risks because you either nail it and everyone plays it, or you just come out and it's dead in a couple months. It's there's no in between with those games.
They've already been bleeding money so much, and then if that comes out and doesn't succeed, then that's what I was talking about earlier. Is it's unclear Sony's live service future.
100%. And they overspent on Bungie to get this figured out. And but here's Bungie. Get rid of Factions 2. That's not going to be good. Get rid of this, get rid of that. And here, are they trying to deflect their own image? Like, boom. Like, they, put too much into Bungie. And then they're like, whoa. The fuck are you guys doing? Maybe this is a lot of the issues with Bungie back when they were with Microsoft, saying Microsoft is too hands-on. Well, maybe they were too hands-on because you guys couldn't run your business, because if they did let you go, you would have fucking...
I mean, back then when Microsoft had it, though, there was a lot more... The leadership was more there was more leadership together. It was 5 people running Bungie instead of just one head at the time, because you still had... I'm forgetting the fucking name, but the Halo dude.
Marty O'Donnell. There was Jason Jones, Joe Staten.
Yeah, you had all those as the head of that company. So they would all have their own vote and decisions back then, and now it's just one dude.
Yeah, and maybe Microsoft didn't like where it's going because he saw it, and maybe who knows what transpired between Microsoft and Bungie at that time, but. Seeing where they are now, and there could have been struggles within those 5, and that's why I think they left. During the Activision era is when they kind of
when they started leaving.
Yeah, so they dismantled then because it was not going where they wanted it to go, and then then they were and then Bungie left, and then here we are with Sony and. Just really shit the bed, truthfully, and I don't think they will recover to the point where they used to be, and the fact that they're not going to have the same. You don't be like, oh, Bungie is the company that makes fantastic games. If Marathon doesn't do well because, like, again, the Escape from Tarkov people, they what they played, they're like, fuck this, and it's kind of eye opening to see, a big game of service type game. Here you are.
I mean, even Call of Duty failed with the extraction shooter. They tried it and they failed.
Mm-hmm.
So even the biggest company out there with the most developers failed in making this genre. And you want Bungie to do it, who's getting constant job cuts.
It's not a simple success like just because a genre is popular. Remember when Battlefield did the fucking battle royale mode and was it Battlefield 5? I think they did it in
Battlefield Fire, the Firestorm.
the ring, and that just nobody fucking played it. It was it's supposed to be this big deal and stuff, and that was like at the peak of when battle royales were becoming popular.
Fortnite used to be a horde mode type. They adapt and
and maybe Marathon can do that too. Maybe it can come out as an extraction shooter, and people.
That's if Sony
change it.
That's if Sony lets it. That's the biggest thing.
Well, I think at this point, now that they've done what they've done, right, by absorbing part of the team into their first party, right, moving another team strictly onto Marathon, right, canceling or shelving, I should say, continuing to shelve Destiny 3 or whatever the hell that game was going to be, right, and putting other folks. I think they've kind of done that now at this point, where Marathon, I think the lust, like the illusion. Well, obviously this is common sense, but the illusion of what Bungie was is gone. So I think to some degree, Matt's point is well taken, that there is pressure on Marathon, but really with what's happening already right now to Bungie, I really don't think it matters one way or the other. I think that team that's currently working on Marathon certainly wants to make it, like, is praying that this is going to be the game that they think they can make, and that it's going to, bring back, the Bungie name, and they're going to, again, Destiny 2 is still doing really well. Let's not forget that either, right? Destiny 2 is still, again, the latest, what the hell is it? Final, what is it? God damn, I just lost it. Final shape. Well received, doing well. A lot of Destiny players came back to finish everything off, right? So it's done okay. Now, did it do what they needed to do? No, it didn't. But I think that obviously the Marathon people that are left, that team, that core team that's working on Marathon, for sure wants to uphold Bungie's name. It wants to be the team that makes Marathon the greatest thing that it can possibly be, and then the next big thing. But to all your points, again, we're in 2024. The competition is completely different. But to Sony's perspective and to Hiroki, I don't think they have any illusions that Bungie is suddenly going to be the second that Marathon is going to be the second coming. I think that they probably have tempered their expectations way down, and that a lot of these moves are in preparation for the fact that Marathon might come out, might be a good game, might garner some attention, might do okay, but do I think that they're hopping on the train like, oh, Marathon's gonna be our games of the service? This is exactly why this is why we bought Bungie. This is why Jim went and no. I don't think so anymore. I think Hiroki and Herman are probably looking elsewhere to their other teams, and they're realigning, as Matt brought up. What's their games as a service plan now? I think it's 1/10 of what they originally had planned to do. I think that they are realigning their other teams back into the single player mode, and they're going to be looking at ways to bring down costs, like Hiroki was talking about, like all the big publishers are talking about, bring down costs of development, implement AI where they can, and then potentially, like what we saw from Xbox today, the word is on the street that they created a new smaller team to work on AA games. I think Hiroki's going to be looking for Naughty Dogs for your Insomniac's plate's already full, but your Naughty Dogs and your Sony Santa Monica's to start bringing out smaller experiences again. Right, to go back to a smaller experience kind of setup where you can bring out more of them. It doesn't take 5-6 years to create a new game, but they aren't going to be the big, huge cinematic experiences that we've come to be, get used to from Sony. I think that's where their next step is, my guess. But I think that's what Hiroki's probably looking at trying to do instead of more games as a service.
Will the fan base accept that they're not going to be those big AAA banger type games that are, set pieces and really just really gorgeous looking games that
Yeah.
what they've been making up to this point. I think Spider-Man kind of like, listen, guys, we have a bloated budget here, and the game wasn't as an explosive hit that it should have been, that we were hoping, because most of that guaranteed is licensing. And
we saw that Disney's fucking Sony over with all this Spider-Man shit. So
yeah, and I think that they're going to look at, will the core fan base be okay with a smaller experience?
Yeah.
In the end, yes, they will be. Will they bitch? Oh, 1,000%, because that's all they do. When
they'll welcome it. They'll welcome it. If they break the next Spider-Man up into 2 or 3 episodes like they talked about doing, they'll welcome it.
1,000%. They'll pay $70 each experience, or $50, or whatever. Oh, look, they're Sony games are $50, but it's like, well, yeah, but it's technically $150 because that game cut into 3 parts where it should have been 1 part, but because it's how big of a game it is and how lavish that where they want it to be, they have to do that. I think Final Fantasy was the test bed for that to see, and I think Sony saw that it was a decent model that they could possibly do that with theirs. Now, going forward, we'll see. I personally would like to see Sony go and be creative like they used to be. Start putting games out that are, innovative to the point where...
to Nate Dogg's point, though, Psycho, right? Nate Dogg brings it up. Obviously, they got Astro this year. That's and again, whether or not we agree that's a big game or not, it doesn't matter. A lot of the Sony fan base is seemingly excited for it, but it's taking a smaller experience that they had that was basically a demo, right? And they're turning it into a full-fledged game, right? So that is some of the old style Sony stuff going on. So I got to get, again, I've never shied away from giving them credit. Like they are seemingly try to do things but they've been locked into this one thing for so long that it's very hard for them to break out outside of Insomniac, who does Ratchet and Clank and that kind of stuff as well. But I think that they are going to try. I want to get Fuzzy in on this because I haven't heard Fuzzy's voice in a while, and he's on the road. He is at some type of horror show. Good for you, Fuzzy.
With the wife.
Yeah, with the wife. The wife makes him go, and yet Fuzzy's out here getting pictures and getting autographs and stuff. It's weird. It's like he's forced, but he's not forced. Fuzz,
yeah, right.
Fuzz, where do you think Bungie and Sony go from here? What do you think of this relationship?
Well, glad Phil dodged the bullet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like, kind of like what you're saying with Bungie cooking the books. It's like he must have saw that. He saw right through it.
Yeah.
And said, nope, I think we'll pass. And, people were probably upset that like, oh, they could have used them. Oh, they, back in the fold, blah, blah, blah. And now we look back and it's like, man, whew. But I don't know. I've worked at a company where people have, some of the executives have bought lavish things, but nothing so sinister as to, take a bonus from the company that acquired the IP or the property, and then, lay people off like just days before they are vested. Like that was the first sign that this guy is, he's what villain arcs are started from, kind of thing. Like, oh, 2 days I'll be vested to get part of that bonus and stuff like that. Nope, you're laid off. You don't get anything. Haha. And it just kept going on. It's like, oh, I bought a car. Ooh, another car. Ooh, a motorcycle. Ooh, another car. It's like, I'm pretty sure some people saw that he was doing this, and then he supposedly invited some of them over. Like, hey, look at my cars. Oh, by the way, don't come in tomorrow because there is no more tomorrow at this office for you. I mean, he didn't even tell them that. They just kind of found out on Twitter. Like, imagine finding out you no longer have a job on social media before they even call you into the office or anything. It's like, I don't know. What's going on at Bungie is the epitome of a dumpster fire. That is kind of brought on by the, one of the head guys. Sony got swindled. They're going to fix the glitch. and they're going to get some people out or off the board and acquire them or absorb them. So I thought for the longest time, I thought Bungie would be at it again in like a year or two. Oh, look, they broke up with Sony. Ha ha. Who's going to be the next sucker to fall for it? Kind of thing. I mean, they left Microsoft, they left Activision, and I figured they would leave Sony, but I don't think they survived Sony. Sony had that poison pill or something for them. So yeah, it's crazy to watch.
They either survive Sony or they just become part of Sony. Like,
I think they've become part of Sony. Like, I don't think there's a Bungie in 2 years in name.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like that's going to be a possibility at this point. But I just imagine if you were one of those devs working on factions and whatnot. Bungie was the one that shot your project down, and they can't even get their own house in order. Like, imagine how you would feel if your past 6 or 8 plus years of work was thrown in a trash can over a dumpster fire. Like,
by a new guy that gets brought in.
yeah. But we brought this expert in to kind of tell you how to do your job, and they can't even do their job. So yeah, I don't know. I'd be pissed off if I worked over at Naughty Dog and was working on factions. I'd be pissed off if I was at Insomniac and working on, what was it, the
Spider-Man Online?
Spider-Verse or whatever.
Yeah, on
So,
Spider-Man
yeah.
Online. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Sony's going to have to figure something out, and I think they're in the process of doing that. And they found out where the cancer is, and they're going to cut some of that stuff out. Unfortunately, some people are going to lose their jobs in the process, but it looks like they're trying to retain some of that talent themselves by moving them to other PlayStation studios and whatnot. So there is hope for some. Unfortunately, not for all.
No.
Hopefully they land well at an Xbox or Nintendo studio or any of the third-party publishers out there that are going to need some additional people here soon for whatever projects they got in the pipeline.
343 made a post that they're hiring like instantly.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
honestly though,
That's
like
awesome.
with the last like few years of the gaming industry, like I don't even know why people want to work in the gaming industry. Like, there's so many fucking layoffs, and your job is
3-bit's
never
like,
safe.
Yeah, we got one right here.
Yeah.
We got 3-bit, right? Who stepped away.
Yeah, 3-bit was like, I love doing ads more.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm comfortable just doing ads.
Or weird dancing Deadpools.
That too. But it's just like the gaming industry at this point, and it's crazy. Every time I have a post about this on Twitter, I get like backlash.
Oh, we should mention 3-bit. You dodged a bullet here too, right? So you almost joined Bungie at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. I was offered a position at Bungie, and I turned it down because I was like, I like doing ads.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that
Good call.
I turned that down. And it was mostly because like the gaming industry as a whole right now, like I have a love and hate relationship for it. What I love about the gaming industry is just, I've been gaming since I was a kid. I get to see these franchises that I've, dreamed of working on, and the people who are working behind the scenes are super passionate about the gaming industry and all these things that are pros to it. But the cons is there are so many layoffs once a game production is dialing down, or once they're like, okay, we finished this, let's say Destiny 2 up, Destiny 3, yeah, we might work on it, but
I mean,
yeah,
having
we're
a
gonna
passion is
fire.
one thing, but you also have to be able to live your fucking life. And
That too, and then you have people who move to these locations with no guarantee that they will still have a job there.
We
It's
saw that this week.
yeah, it sucks for the gaming industry as a whole because there's no job security whatsoever, and that's where I give some props to the union side of things. We'll see how that ends up working in terms of the production pipeline, but I feel like there needs to be a lot of job security for the gaming industry. Is one of the reasons why I did step away, is just because like you never really know what's going to happen. You could do a super good job, spend countless nights working on a game, and then the next day you're like, okay, thanks, and then bye. It really does suck in that regard. And that's where most of my posts kind of on Twitter, whenever I talk about layoffs and stuff, it does revolve around the industry side of things. Now, there's a lot of people who who I did get messages from. I got PMs, or DMs, whatever.
PM.
PMs, DMs,
Private message.
Fuck
He
F
got
you.
he
private
got
message,
PMs and the PM.
direct message. I got DMs and the PMs.
Whoa,
Of people just
that sounds contagious.
saying, people were basically just messaging me saying like, well, this isn't Sony, this is Bungie. And I got that so many times of people saying like, this is not Sony's fault at all, it's Bungie.
Yeah.
And then to that point, I asked these questions like, okay, well, who owns Bungie for one? Who added the incentive of adding $1 billion to keep their employees for one? And and who made the decision to purchase Bungie in the first place, not looking at their books
Correct.
properly, right? So it's yes, Bungie has had fault over the years outside of Sony, but it's also Sony at the end of the day that made the decision to purchase them without fully looking. And it's crazy because we talked about this years ago. Like we on this show talked about like how Bungie, how Sony overpaid for Bungie. We talked about that on several shows. We're like, that's way too high. We kind of see why Microsoft stepped out of the deal. They have a good IP, but it's one IP. They have Destiny, which is a very successful game. However, how much can you sustain this live service game? Player numbers drop up and down. It's how sustainable is that game? It was something we always questioned on the show, and I mean, we're finding out that it's not doing too well. Like in terms of the player numbers, live service games are just hard in general. So if you're doing a live service game, props to you. Not a lot of people in the industry can do it well and really profit from it without some player drop at some point. Fortnite always will do pretty well. Call of Duty pretty well. Jasper mentioned earlier, like they're doing the extraction shooter, or they've done the extraction shooter, and they failed at that. So Marathon is the next upcoming game, which good luck to to them with that. They have a couple problems with that game. If it does well, you still can have people laid off. If you
Yes.
do well in the gaming industry, you could get laid off. If you do bad in gaming industry, you get laid off. So what is left is the trust of the people that's still there. Whenever you're working in the gaming industry, all you have at this point is the trust that the CEO, what he's saying to your face is trustworthy. And
persons who are done lied about. Okay.
Don't. We're hurting for money, and we may have to let you go. But I'm gonna go buy $2.3 million worth of cars. See you next
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
ridiculous. And I pointed that out. The fact.
Oh,
No,
Sony
they
hit
got
something.
storm?
Are you in a storm again?
Another
through the-
storm.
What?
Your internet
froze
cut
No,
out for
for a
a
minute.
second.
Oh, did it cut out for a
Yeah.
second?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We thought
my-
Sony got you.
They almost got me. No, all I was gonna say, the whole thing is messed up. But at the end of the day, it's something we've seen coming. Sony has to figure out how to make them profitable, and we're looking at those numbers like, hey, you guys are not making enough. Or Bungie did it. Sony is Bungie as far as I'm concerned. I'm not gonna go and whenever Activision makes a layoff, being like, oh, it wasn't Xbox, it was Activision. Like I'm not I'm not playing those games. Like it's Xbox. If Activision lays people off, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, that was Activision, that wasn't Xbox. But you have people doing that for some.
Of course you do. Of course. At this day and age.
So
Yeah. I just think you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. In this industry, if you walk into this industry, and again, I know, excuse me, this is a dream job for a lot of people to get in this industry, especially since video games became, so popular. It obviously became a dream job for a lot of people. But I think that anybody nowadays needs to walk in with open eyes that this is a volatile situation. You can work for a small company, but you're still at risk because every game is a risk for that small company, right? And we've seen a ton of small companies, dev studios close down or fire people or lay off people, etc. You can work for a big damn publisher, some of the biggest ones in the world that you think got all the money, and you might have all the security in the world. And yet it's never good enough, even when you're successful, in a lot of cases, because the shareholders demand more and more and more and more and more and more and more, and the CEOs demand more and more and more and more. And again, the little people are always going to be at the bottom. So if you're a little person, if you're somebody starting out and you're just a dev, you got to know. You got to know, and you got to plan nowadays for your family, for everything, for your security, for your future. If you really want to do this and you really want to get into game development, you're sitting on a ticking time bomb, and it can go off at any moment, and you're not going to know in most cases. And again, it's shocking. It's still shocking after these past couple of years to see some of the stuff happening. But you just I don't blame you, 3-bit, with how this industry is, for finding a safer industry to work in, like that you can still have fun in, you can still take pride in. It might not be like, the games that you want to be developing and all that kind of stuff, because I know how much you really love developing games and how much you really love some of the teams that you worked for. But at the end of the day, you yourself had to take a step back and be like, yo, I'm not playing with this stuff. Like I want something more stable. It might not be my first choice, but I just want something more stable. And you were lucky enough to have the opportunity to go do that. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do that. But I think that it's been made clear now that this industry, while booming, right, while setting new records, while companies bragging about brand new profits, profit records on a quarterly basis, means nothing when you're at the bottom as a dev or a QA or whoever at the bottom. It means nothing anymore. And that's the sad part. But it's doubly tough to take a look at somebody like Parsons, who, yes, again, I'm for capitalism, right? If somebody earns it, they earn it. If they build a company up and they make billions or millions or whatever the hell it is because they built that damn company and employ thousands of people, great. They did that. But when you're somebody like Parsons and you know your company's struggling, and then you're out bragging to even your employees while you're getting ready to lay them off that you're buying $2.4 million of cars, I can't get behind you, man. I can't. No matter what you've done, you're just an asshole, like straight up.
He's
and again,
be the perfect candidate for like a car heist movie for villain, right? Like it's like the target.
Awesome.
Oh, this guy is CEO, like lay people off, let's go get revenge and take all of his shit.
Right. And again, the world's never going to be fair. Again, there is no utopian system out there. Nobody's designed one yet. And it would fall apart because humans are human. Even if somebody did design one, it would fall apart. Okay. The point being is that it's never going to be fair.
Be there.
Yeah, it's always going to be there. Power, greed, it's always going to be there. There are just ways to go about in handling your business. And obviously, Pete Parsons did not handle his business properly at all. Like, it's just not okay. And I hope that he got his bag and he walks. I hope he leaves Bungie behind in disgrace. And I hope that he goes ahead and doesn't do anything with any studio again, because I don't think he deserves it. I mean, again, I hate to say it because you could go make your own fortune again and everybody's redeemable at some point. But man, oh man, in this industry, I don't know, man. He's definitely walked himself off his own plank on this one. So sad to see for all the people. Again, I hope everybody bounces back. Hope everybody gets on their feet. And hope everybody finds their job. I just think that he swindled the hell out of Sony. He swindled the hell out of Jim Ryan. And this will go down as one of Sony's worst purchases of all time, if not the worst purchase of all time. They've got one of the best in Insomniac underneath their belts. Now they got one of the worst. This is not an investment that is turning out well for them. Even if Marathon succeeds, I don't think you could say this was a success for Sony in any way, shape, or form. This is not what they bought into, right? This is not what they wanted out of Bungie at all. And on top of it, again, feel how you want, make all the excuses what you want about what happened with Factions 2, with what happened with Twisted Metal, and whatever else they decided to cancel. Spider-Man, MMO, I disagree wholeheartedly. I think that 1000% they were the cause of all that and made that mistake. So this is a bad look. Matt, have you got any final thoughts on this, sir? You've been awfully quiet, obviously, with your voice, but you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, just kind of sucks overall. Bad situation for the Bungie employees. Ultimately, that's who we should think about when this kind of stuff happens. It seems like Bungie was not who Sony thought they were, and they kind of became more of a problem than an asset. So,
do you think also that maybe some of that overpriced was like just a hope shot, like because they knew that they had the live action experience? So, like, is that where
it's
that extra
desperation?
Yeah.
It's like they have one of the most prominent, successful live service game developers. Really, the first big live service game developer out there. Destiny was kind of the first big takeoff with that genre, right? And they're saying, okay, we're getting the masters of this. It's going to be worth it in the long run. Like, when is this opportunity going to come up again? We can get Bungie, like, take the Bungie name away from Xbox, keep the association. Destiny did wonders for PlayStation with the name association in the PlayStation 4 era. A lot of people chose PlayStation because of the marketing and stuff behind Destiny. They thought it was exclusive to PlayStation. So they already had the association there. They knew the value of that. And they just thought, I think it was going to be worth it in the long run, but didn't really understand the inner workings of Bungie and what turmoil and what the costs were and how poorly the studios were ran in the long run. And I think that was the learning experience that probably also caused them to cancel the other 6 live service games. When they saw these financials, they were probably like, oh shit, this is not what we thought it was. If we go this route, we're committing self-suicide here as a company. We can't do this, right? Like they've looked at the cost, the benefit, how much effort and how many people it took to make that game and to keep it going, and what the return was.
It's interesting because like the original rumors back in the day when they were still with Activision was pressuring them into making more microtransactions just to be a profitable studio. Like I think at the root cause, it's still Bungie was just too inflated to begin with the amount of people trying to make that one game.
That's a problem in the entire industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what a big part of the correction is going, I think, right now is like we talk about the old days a lot of times, right? Like the 360 days, the Xbox, original Xbox days, and all those kind of things where we got like 3 or 4 games from the same franchise in the same generation, right? And like those were a lot of the same studio names, right, that we're familiar with today, but like a fifth of the size or less. Like you had studios that had 100 developers then that have 1,000 now,
and a tenth of the budgets.
Right, yeah, and like way smaller budgets. And like then you see these small games today come out and do huge numbers and are successful with small teams that look polished, that look like they're developed by teams that have 1,000 developers. There's like almost no discerning difference. Like you look at a game like The First Descendant. I don't know how many people worked on it, but like it's not as many people probably worked on Destiny. I'll tell you that. It's a huge success.
I mean, it's Nexon, and I forgot who the actual studio is. I know Nexon's publisher, so I would say probably like 200-300 at least.
Right. But you're talking about comparatively to like a 1,300 or whatever it was at Bungie, right? You know what I mean? So, like, you're seeing like, okay, well, this is what it all takes to do this kind of great work, but have this. It's like you're steering a cruise ship, like the Titanic, right? And sometimes it's better to be a little bit more nimble.
Yeah.
You know, and you grow as a successful company, and you hire and you hire and hire. It's a good sentiment for success, but sometimes it's not the best way to create things because you get in your own way. Because there's too many moving parts, too many huge parts to your company, too many conversations, too much communication, too much having to check with this, having to check with that, green light this, green light that, focus group that, market research this. Hey, let's get 10 playable vertical slices from all these different teams to see which project we like and figure out which game we're going to make next. And we're going to work on 3 of them to a certain extent, and we're going to cancel these 2, and then we're going to keep dilly-dallying and figure out eventually what we're going to make. And there's just so much wasted money, wasted time, wasted hours, wasted resources, wasted man hours in game development that becomes so transparent anytime you see any of these news stories, anytime you see any of these game cancellations, anytime you see any of these things. And I just don't understand how these big ass companies like this can see that amount of money just be thrown away and lit on fire pretty much constantly, and just say that's the best way to go. So ultimately, I think what they're doing is course correcting a lot of ways. I think they're learning from some of these smaller teams. If you're Sony and you see these other live service games come out from small ass teams that are doing better numbers than Destiny, and you're like, well, why the hell are we paying these guys all this money and have this huge studio with all this huge workforce, and it's only doing a fraction of the numbers of these other games that have way less people, and like player reception's better over there and all this other kind of stuff, more engagement. Like look at Helldivers 2, Arrowhead. How small of a team is that?
Yeah.
Right? Like it. You just got to make
First Descendant was 150 people, by the way. So they made that game in 4 years. They started working on it in 2019.
That's exactly what I'm fucking saying, man. You know what I mean? Like
4 years, 150 people.
Like it's just these companies have become so bloated for their own success, and like that sometimes that's what a company becomes. Is like, hey, we're this huge name, we're this huge entity, and we've been here, we've made all this money, we've done all these things, and we're gonna keep growing, but for making games, it seems like sometimes it's not honestly the best way, unless you actually have something like a Fortnite or this or that that's just sustainable and ongoing consistently, and you need that amount of people to keep that content going. But once that engagement dies, once the money stops, then it's over.
Even with Fortnite, Mav, right? Even with Fortnite, you're talking about Epic. They got Unreal Engine, right? Yeah. They're printing money elsewhere, right? Yeah. That's the whole thing.
And that's marketing for your engine to everybody else too, right?
Right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. You don't have all your eggs in one basket, whereas something like Bungie, like you said, it becomes an unwieldy beast, right? It becomes an unwieldy monster. Like, yeah, it's great when you're building it up and oh my God, we're having so much success. And they didn't start out at 1,300 people, right? Mm-hmm. They just continuously grew because of how much success and oh my God, we're going to hire more people. We're going to do all this great stuff. But then it just becomes, breaks free of its chains, becomes its own entity itself. And all of a sudden you've lost control and you're just trying to throw more people at it. You're just trying to throw more and more stuff at it to try to get it back under control again. And you wind up losing control. Then you make stupid decisions like, sunsetting, sunsetting content that people paid for, right? Basically abandoning your PvP, as Steele has talked about many, many times. Like, then it's just constant catch-up mode. But as Bungie, right, that's the only thing you've got. So now what are you doing? Now your overhead is through the roof. You're losing players. You're not making as much money as you once were. So now everything starts going backwards and backwards and backwards. And like I said, then you start robbing Peter to pay Paul. Oh, we're going to turn the ship around. We're going to make things right. Next expansion is going to be the one. Then you put out an expansion. It doesn't hit the way you think it's going to hit. Now you're even more behind. because you don't have anything else to prop it up. You don't have anything else to bring in the money, right?
Yeah.
That's when you wind up with these problems. And that's what happens to studios like this that we've seen many, many times. And that's why, like you said, Mav, the big publishers, this is a coming to Jesus moment for a lot of the industry, that even the big publishers, right? Even the big names like 2K, right?
Yeah.
Who are printing money with GTA Online, we still see them cutting people because they're not making games. They're not making games like they used. They got nothing else, right? And they've got problems because they got shareholders that they have to meet too. Now, again, that's a unicorn. They got, GTA 6 in their back pocket and makes everything better instantaneously. And obviously they've got NBA 2K and stuff like that too as well, but not like they used to. Like when Rockstar used to make multiple games every year, or had, in a generation 4 or 5 games come out like they used to. They're focused on one. We're talking about maybe potentially the first $1 billion video game, right? That's stupid. It's just crazy to even think about.
To 3-Bit's point too about earlier, like some of the blame has to be on Sony too, right? Because
yes,
like ultimately the whole benefit of being acquired is security, right?
Should be.
That should be the incentive, right? Money and security, right? Like and otherwise your freedom is always better to have, So at what Microsoft just did with this Blizzard team that is floating around today, as like Jez mentioned it, and I think some other people have too, about splitting off this team to do like AA projects and stuff, right? This is exactly what I said last time when I was critical over other layoffs. These companies need to do, like, you have resources, you have assets. Ultimately in business, the most valuable thing you have is the talent and the people, because they are your tools to make money, right? Without them, you are nothing. So you can look at two things. You make a cutthroat decision for quick return to just basically, well, we're going to get rid of all this cost, which is people, right? Or we double down on investment and figure out how to turn these people into a return, right? Well, the coward move is obviously to just lay the people off and make the easy profit quick that way and get a better return by cutting costs. The more brave thing to do, and the more, I think, successful long-term for these companies to do, is reinvest in your company and separate yourself by being the best. And one way you can do that is to continue to invest in new projects and new games. It doesn't always have to be all in eggs in one basket type project. But if you have talent, you have people, why not have them make fucking something? Like, be creative, form new teams, form different ideas, like do different projects.
But at the same time, that like the current gaming like strategy and culture is, it has to be a constant update cycle game. Like that's what every like major studio is pretty much chasing at this point. Is like, we have to be the next Fortnite. We got to do fucking weekly or monthly updates to keep people engaged.
Is the problem if that's all these companies do? I agree that that's an important part of it, but it shouldn't be the only thing. Like, and that's what, like, Microsoft has those games. They have the Minecraft, they have Grounded, they have Halo Infinite, they have Sea of Thieves, they have all these like games of service games, Call of Duty, Diablo, right? But they're also doing these other games, right? And they split off that studio there. They could have decided, well, hey, these developers, it's going to be easy we don't really need them on these projects. We're just going to lay them off, right? But instead, it's better value to put them on more projects to get more content, to draw more people to your services, and you have another potential home run. The thing about video games, it's always been a gamble whenever you release a game. You don't know what's ever going to hit, right? No. You can release 10 games in a row, and they could be flop, flop, flop. But if you get the one success, that could just completely make everything, right? And so you got to keep reinvesting in these games. Like, how many flops does Ubisoft had before they got Assassin's Creed, right? Like there's franchises that come up and finally hit, and if these companies stop investing in new IP and new creations and new ideas with these AA smaller projects, then they're only sticking to the all eggs in one basket ideas, and those are only sustainable up to a certain point, because when the engagement dies off, then everything falls apart.
Not even
Yeah.
new IP though. Not even, sorry, 3-bit real quick. I'll let you go in second. I know you guys got Fuzzy. If you've been quiet for a while too. But if not even brand new IP, right, man?
Oh
We've talked
yeah,
about this
spin-off
too,
IP,
right?
yeah,
Using the IP that is ultra popular,
that's
but
already there.
breaking off and trying different new games,
Or just
you know,
giving people what they want.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
That's
Break-
a key to success
the
right there.
lore. Right. Explore the lore.
yeah, that's what
there.
Deadpool and Wolverine was. Finally, like they made that movie,
Oh.
like that's what gave people what they wanted, and it like look at it, it's
Right,
like taking
and
the world by storm.
that's the way it should be, right? Again, sometimes common sense, just for whatever reason in the business world, just it's not common sense. But we look at this stuff, and yes, I know spending other people's money is very easy, and playing armchair CEO is very easy. But at the same time, to Matt's point, something that we discussed, right? Why always let go people? If it is truly performance issues, if people aren't performing or wasting time or whatever, fine. All right, obviously, you don't keep those people around. But if you've got talented people in an industry that is based on talent, right, creative talent, then why not find other ways to do this? And if this studio is what they're talking about doing, Mav, which is using existing IP to make smaller experiences off of those IP, this is brilliant. And again, it's something we talked about, but it shouldn't be like, oh my God, look at these guys, they're doing it. Like this should be normal, standard operating procedure when you've got as much IP as Microsoft does, and it's well known and it's hitting. Like, why wouldn't you have some smaller teams work on some smaller projects?
Yeah, you could have some cool StarCraft thing or some Warcraft,
and you don't know where it takes you. Like you said, man, you don't know.
People have been dying for Halo spin-offs forever. Like, give them just another ODST game.
I mean, and I feel like that's the definition of like why Power World was so successful. This is something people have been clamoring for a long time. That wasn't really
Pokemon
provided
wasn't
by
doing
Nintendo. Yeah, Pokemon wasn't doing it, so someone did it, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's Pokemon with all these different features in there." Yeah, and completely like I feel like nostalgia is powerful, right? In terms of IP and what you have, people like to be within a certain thing. Like people say they like new things and stuff, but usually what ends up happening in market research is stuff we've been
People don't
studying
like change.
actually.
Look at the
past few
top
weeks.
games played, top 10 games played.
Top
It's
10 games
depressing
are
as
out.
All 4 or 5
Yep.
years old.
Yep. So what they could do, to you guys' point, is go within Destiny and within the lore, and really explore that with spin-off
Sure.
titles or things like that. Open up a new avenue of like if you did a story-based Destiny, that would be something people are extremely interested in, as Destiny people like the story, but it's just told in like logs and like cutscenes and things like that. So that's an avenue you could open and try out. And I do want to rewind a little bit to when Sony first purchased Bungie. One of the reasons why they said they purchased them was their live service experience.
Mhm.
And even back then, I'm like, you're gonna buy them for 2-3 billion just for their experience. Like, okay, I mean, it's a weird. I thought it was weird back then.
Yep.
That Sony would buy them just for their live service experience. But like, hey, okay, they have a very successful game that is Destiny, right? This is before they looked into the books and all that different stuff. But what they what they really need to do with Destiny is start to look at all these other IPs. Like, why was Power World successful? How can we expand what we already have? They're trying to do something with Marathon. Okay, it is an extraction shooter. When I thought of Marathon and what it was in the past with the older Marathon, I was thinking it was going to be story based and maybe build off of that, kind of like a Halo or something like that. But they're not going that route because they want to more of a live service game. It's like, hey, this was proven in Destiny, we could do it here. You don't need to do that every single time. People will buy.
Bungie made their one flaw.
Yep.
Instead of them being the trendsetter, they're now following the trend.
Yep.
Bungie's success was making the trend, and now they're just following it.
Yep. And
Yeah,
I mean, Sony's to that point. They're not taking risks in a lot of ways either. Like the fact that they want to stick to not doing any live service games at this point, canceling factions, canceling the Spider-Man online. Those could have been big things for them, in my opinion. Like
fucking
that
Spider-Man would have been
Spider-Man.
the fucking biggest
That's
thing
the one
Sony
thing
ever fucking put out.
Yes,
And
that when we all seen the Spider-Man 2 thing, I constantly saw this, at least with Spider-Man 2. Oh, it's 2 Spider-Mans. This is a good opportunity to do co-op, to do online, to push yourself as a studio. I mean, this is getting into another.
Originally planned to be co-op. I still think it was that they cut it back because they wanted it out quicker, and so Insomniac said we can't do co-op, and Sony said fine. I truly believe it was designed as co-op.
I believe that too.
Yeah,
man.
And that's another conversation, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I got to get to a couple super chats real quick, guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jay Rembrandt hit us early with a 5. Says, I feel like Microsoft is putting games damn near everywhere to appease regulators. Yeah, I mean, that could be a small part of it, like in the grand scheme of things. If you're talking about their overall open strategy with trying to dominate everything, then that's part of what they want to
future
do,
acquisitions as well.
Yeah, but it's naturally going to happen. But I still think this is a part of their natural plan now. I don't think it's forced. I think they're just doing it. And naturally, yes, it's going to make them look like the good guys. And next time they go acquire something, there's not going to be any questions. But this was their plan all along. They were upfront about it, like what we're going to do, even though they didn't come out and say, "Oh, we're going to start putting our games on PlayStation." It was just kind of part of the plans. If ABK went through, that they were going to start this at some point. Like this is how
everywhere means everywhere.
3 billion people. Yeah, this is how you get 2 billion, 3 billion people, by introducing everybody to your ecosystem. They're going to try.
Alvin hit us with a $10 super chat. Shout out to Alvin. Appreciate you, bro. Says, life's been a little crazy lately, not catching these live as much, but glad to be here now, sitting in my new Lazy Boy, playing D4 and hearing a great combo. Dude, nice. I hope you're enjoying that new Lazy Boy. I'm a little jealous. I would have liked to had a nice Lazy Boy recliner this week. That's for damn sure. Right? Get the nice incline, relax. Alvin, a member for 25 months, also said, 8K hours in Destiny. Most of the blame, Pete. 8,000 hours.
Oh, I can't imagine.
How many days is that?
That's for like
too many.
300 and some days. It's like a full year playthrough.
Yeah. 8,000 divided by 24.
333.
How much?
That's almost
333.
Yeah, insane. Thanks for getting those super chats. I should have been on top of that.
No, you're good, man. I was waiting for our match the conversation, but we've fucking been talking PlayStation for 2 hours.
I told you this is gonna be a round robin. Well, we talked a bunch of stuff first.
This is a Lazy Boy computer chair. You're right, babe. I forgot. Yeah.
Yes, you have a Lazy Boy. I thought that too.
But no, but this, I want a Lazy Boy
like a
recline. Like with the wood handle.
Babe,
on the
I need
side.
a new chair in the office. This Lazy Boy's not good enough.
Well, the thing on this, the new Microsoft studio that they're opening up, because I saw a lot of conversations on Twitter today about that, is that they just laid off and closed down Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks, where if they were thinking of doing this, you think there would have been talks within those studios of like, hey, this is what we're thinking. Do you want to go that route? Did they deny it? And that's why, okay, well, we can't have, we need to, unfortunately shut the doors. Or did they pivot when they closed down? They're like, okay, we need to let's get some, because this studios I think is made up from the mobile side from King, a bunch of other. The
There's,
Bethesda.
I thought it was Blizzard.
Blizzard.
Yeah, Blizzard. Sorry, Blizzard.
Yeah, it's
So
devs from Blizzard, is what I thought.
Yeah, so maybe they said they wanted to maybe jump over there, but I don't know. Maybe these are some of the talent within all those the ABK teams where they kind of want to get off of Call of Duty and do their own thing. This is now their opportunity to do that. Because I saw a lot of people like, well, you could have just put Tango Gameworks to do this and all that, and I don't think that's what this became. This wasn't a thought until things have settled down quite a bit with ABK, and they're kind of got an idea of do you guys want to who wants to continue with Call of Duty?
I think the Tango Gameworks thing sucks, but it's really irrelevant. Like, you can't really compare one to the other.
But I'm just saying,
this
is the conversation people are having.
Yeah,
it's a dumb conversation to have.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
I think every situation again stands on its own. The reasons why, whether they close or whether they allow Toys for Bob to go buy their independency, or whether they do something like this. I think Jez added context to this one specifically, Psycho, and said this is part of that initiative that they had started in 3-bit. Obviously talked about it in our DMs as well, because he had seen this, and obviously we had heard from him that they were doing this, right? And we've heard more and more publicly how they're doing this. But this is a part of the initiative that they originally envisioned with the acquisitions, that with all this talent, with all these different studios, that they would help each other, that they would coordinate with each other on projects, and that they would have this kind of working relationship across all divisions, right? No matter if it was Bethesda or whether it was Xbox Game Studios or whether it's Activision, like there would be interaction amongst all those teams. And in fact, they're trying to align them even further by locations and that kind of stuff. I think actually Tango probably was more so location, and whatever. They were on an island literally over in Japan, and that Microsoft didn't have any plans to expand further right now, and that was probably why, because they were so far away. But again, I don't like it, but it is what it is. But I think this one specifically is putting more focus on that initiative that they started originally, and that we've seen, because we've heard Coalition helping people, obviously, right? We've got Obsidian working on State of Decay 3, helping with the open world and all that kind of, like, this has already started, but I think this is like them saying, okay, because they took parts of King, it's supposedly, right?
Yeah.
It's within Blizzard, but they took people from parts of King and elsewhere at Activision and created this team to start working on AA games based upon IP currently, like their current IP. But I think we're going to see more of this too. And I think
Do you think that's mobile games?
No,
Well,
They said AA. I don't think that really.
AA.
But is the AA phrase?
Could they? Sure.
Are they considering mobile games now big enough to where these are like AA and AAA?
It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, if they get their mobile store, would I doubt that there's going to be a mobile version of most games? No, I wouldn't doubt it, Jasper. So you're probably right, technically speaking.
In fact, I would start putting that as a priority going forward.
Well, that's could be, like building like Fallout, and here's a smaller, more closed game within that universe, within the studio making it. So if it's more accessible, it's almost cloud,
like when
mobile, everywhere.
When a new summer movie was about to come out, you get the game like a week before and play the game before the movie. They're going to do that with mobile games for like a main game.
They could have it linked in. They could have it like, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think this is going to be like a straight up mobile thing, but I think it's definitely helping on that front where they can take smaller experiences of big IP, established IP that they can have made faster, played through the cloud, played through, so when they do open up their mobile service, that this game is accessible and you can play this version of this game that's on, it's on mobile, or your Fire Stick and shit like that people like. I want more Fallout, I want more Starfield, and things that are just more smaller scoped this studio could definitely be doing that. And then if that's the case, I think that brings a larger audience to other franchises. Like, oh, I really like this. Let me try out that Starfield, the main Starfield. Oh, I like that. I love this. Let me try that Fallout. Or I like this. Let me try, whatever, whatever game that they base their IP off of.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things that they can, pump out a good steady cadence where, where we see. I mean, we've seen it so far since all these acquiring all these studios, and the cadence of games in the first half of the year is very, very stale. It's like one, maybe two, and then it's a heavy back end all the time since all these acquisitions. So maybe pumping out these smaller titles, they can fill in here and there with these games to have a steady cadence of games.
Booty will still have them all lined up for the second half, so he can push more games. Don't worry about it. He's gonna line them all up. He'll line them all up for the second half of the year still.
He's starting to put them in his pocket now.
Yeah, we'll have like 15 games for the second half of the year now. That's Booty's plan. Is just load up the back end of the Booty. Real quick, Fuzzy, tea leave time. What do you think's coming out of the studio that was created within Blizzard to work on AA titles based on existing franchises? What do you think here, brother?
True Crimes.
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't know. I'm hoping, and this is a far-fetched dream on this, but and with the caveat that it's AA, I don't know that True Crimes gets a light of day kind of thing, but I would love for it to be that. I know it's Blizzard people. I know it's maybe a handful of King people, but I'm hoping there's some Activision people mixed in so they could do like a True Crimes. But if it's not that, then maybe, just maybe, considering it's Blizzard people, maybe it is StarCraft. Maybe it doesn't have to be an RTS this time. Maybe it's a third person, over the shoulder space marine thing, or like Ghosts. So I would like to see that, but once again, I don't know that
Overwatch
falls under AA. Like I would expect that to be like AAA.
The same thing that League of Legends did with Arcane, where they started doing spin-off games and shows with individual characters. I could see them trying to do something like that for Overwatch.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah,
it's tough to see what they're putting together. Like I have more eyes and ears interest in what was it? Everywhere? Not Everywhere. What was the other one called? Everspace
studio.
Or something?
No, Everspace is a good game.
Elsewhere Studios?
Elsewhere.
Oh, Elsewhere. That's what it was. Yeah, the other studio that was like kind of like an Activision spinoff of one of the Call of Duty studios or something. I'm more curious on what those guys are going to do, but I don't know. This Blizzard team. Hopefully, what was the other game that got canceled? It was like Mikey Barr's Baby. What was that?
Survival game.
Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey. Yeah.
Maybe Odyssey gets reimagined. I don't know.
I think this could be a cool studio to reintroduce franchises that have been dead for a while too, or ideas that have been dead for a while, like a StarCraft, like you said, Fuzzy. Maybe not an RTS out the gate, but you reintroduce StarCraft in a new manner. So that the name is back out there again. Like, not that it's ever left, because people obviously recognize StarCraft, but just having something current out there, and seeing what reception is, and then going from there, as you start to bring back some of this IP that has been unused for a while. And again, this is nothing new. Blizzard has done a lot of, cooperating within their own studios over the years. Just pointed that out as well. That this is
if you're bringing back an old IP, you don't want to start with a spinoff. Then,
no, not necessarily, but maybe as a small experience, Jasper. Maybe you could in some way. Like, I don't know. Like,
StarCraft,
I'm just thinking outside the box.
You could do like
a
Helldivers type game based on like StarCraft would be AA multiplayer.
If you just come out with a game called Zerg Battles, no one's like, what the fuck is this?
No, because you highlight the StarCraft name,
StarCraft Zerg Battles.
Zerg Battles.
Then
everybody's in. I don't know. It's kind of curious. Matt, did you have any last thoughts on this one?
No, I hope we get some cool stuff. The more studios making different things, the better for me. Like
again, yeah.
So that's what I've always been promoting. I'd rather see, instead of people get laid off, put on different projects, right?
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
what exactly what I was talking about before. But like, I'm not saying that these people are in danger of being laid off or anything. But it's cool that they are being utilized in an interesting way here, and it shows that they've been thinking about ways to get more creations out of these teams, out of the talent they have, which is what you should be doing. You got to try and increase your output of games and IP and franchises, and try and create new experiences that people could love. And I think they have all the talent in the world. All these developers are super talented. So just put them to use and let them make some cool shit, man. Like greenlight some projects. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know,
StarCraft Crush would be huge.
Yeah, it was all also
go through that.
To kind of go into that point. I think it was really cool. That was one of the pros for me when I worked at on Fable, was these teams are constantly just even outside of Fable, these teams are constantly just communicating with each other,
collaborating,
whether it's server things, whether it's assets, materials, best practices for engine optimization between different engines and things like that. Like Xbox, just, if you really think about it, has a plethora of just different engines that and talent. Like they don't own the Unreal Engine, but they just happen to have the masters of Unreal Engine, being the Coalition, helping out other teams. And Coalition is so good, by the way, at the Unreal Engine, that Epic also works with them constantly because of how good they are. And Epic made the dang thing, so it was a pro when I was working there, and I'm sure it's even a pro now with the amount of talent that they now have. You could just have different teams who are really good at, let's say they're good at online elements, like let's say Rare, for example, with Sea of Thieves, where another team, they may be weaker in that area, and you could get that expertise because they are now considered a part of the Xbox umbrella. And I don't know, I always thought that was cool when I was there, and seeing that news, I was like, yeah, this is something I was telling you guys, either behind the scenes and things like that. I want to see more smaller titles coming out of this game. I've been asking for that for 343 for a while. I want to see Halo spin-offs and things. Yeah, all the games.
AA games now are what we considered AAA games 10 years ago.
I know.
Really? I mean, you look at some of these games that people say are AA, and I'm like, it's like my mind have been blown playing that. But like, they considered, like, one I point to is Ubisoft. They sold Assassin's Creed Mirage for $50, and they considered it like a AA Assassin's Creed game. Yeah. But like, that's like the same size and scope as like a regular Assassin's Creed game, like on the 360. Like, it's just smaller compared to Odyssey and these other new Assassin's Creed games. Now, like, the amount of expectations for game size for like these AAA studios and stuff now has kind of gotten out of hand, I think, for some of us. But like, yeah, AA for me, like, I would rather play more of those, honestly. Like, if that's
I just played like a AA game, and like it actually felt like a AA game, not as in bad way or anything, but like it just the size and scope of the game. Nobody Wants to Die. It came out like a couple weeks ago. I finished that. It was only like a 4 or 5 hour game, but visually it looked really good. And like, I mean, if that game looked that good back in the day, like I've been like, holy fucking shit. But it's just a AA game.
Yeah, remember like Order 1886 on the PlayStation? Yeah. It was like a 4 or 5 hour game, and it was sold because because the graphics were amazing, and it was like people were like, some people didn't like it, but like overall it still had some reputation for being like really impressive. Right, it was marketed like crazy, right? And Like that game you talk about, Jasper, it's $25, dude.
I know.
It's $25. I saw the trailers for them. Like, really? This is the kind of shit we can get for $25 now? Like, for a new game? If this is like 5 or 6 hours, that's like how long campaigns used to be.
Right.
You know? Like, that's fine for me. I love stuff like that, man. Like, I don't need every game to be fucking 70, 80 hours, you know?
Well, no, I mean, you
I
need a
don't,
mix.
I don't want to spend
You gotta
10
have it.
hours figuring out fucking systems in every damn
Well,
game
that's
I
your
play.
That's a you. But anyways, yes, no, I mean, we need a good mix. I mean, we need to continue to have a mix, but I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now with the industry and the direction it's going, I think we should all expect smaller experiences, especially in the single player games that aren't multiplayer, that aren't monetized. I think you're going to see a cutback. You'll still have studios like CDPR. You'll still have studios like Bethesda that make the big classic single player RPGs. But I think that you're going to see the bigger studios start backing away from the single player games being overly long or overly, whatever, Ubisoft or whatever you want to call it. And I think we're going to see those smaller experiences pop up more and more if they're going to do them. I don't think that they're going to be the budget size that they used to be anymore, unless they do have a multiplayer component, unless they have a monetization component. I think the bigger publishers are going to start backing away. But, right, then the counterpoint to that is, like you were talking about, the smaller studios now have access to a lot of the same tech. We've talked about this, that's blurring the lines between big studios and small studios all the time. And you're probably going to wind up seeing some smaller indie studios pick up the slack like they did back in a day with some RPGs that are bigger because they can make them, right? And it's not going to be like as expansive as a Starfield is, but they're going to come through and they're going to fill in those spots with bigger, longer games themselves. And people are going to start clamoring for them again. Again, this is the ebb and flow of the industry. It happens all the time. We go through these, we've seen the return of the fighting genre after how long, right? The fighting genre had dipped out of most people's views, and now it's back again. We just had 2 years of classic releases in the fighting
The freaking
genre.
RTS genre is the strongest it's been since
God.
the early 2000s. Like,
Bro, it's by the way, Jas, did you play Tempest Rising?
No, but I saw, it was like a few years ago, I saw the trailer at Gamescom, so like I knew what you're all talking about.
Yeah, okay. You get, when you get a chance, download the demo.
It's
try it.
It's limited time. It's gone now.
Oh, is it gone? Oh,
yeah.
Shoot! I thought they still had it up. Anyways,
I tried to play it last Saturday, and it was already gone.
God dang it! Yeah, Jasper, get ready for that. It's Command and Conquer. It's Command and Conquer, and that's coming from an unknown, like a little team, unknown studio coming back. To your point, that RTSs are like super strong. Look at survival games now. Look at what's happening. Like again, the ebb and flow of the industry is always going to be
so
like
many
this,
great games in every genre.
There
It's
is.
insane.
It is. It's all over the place. But AA has a place, and I think AA is going to have a more important place. What they're calling AA now. To Mav's point, the AA that come out of this studio are probably going to look like AAA games, but they're just going to be smaller in scope. Right? That's how it's going to be. It's not like what we used to think about where AA meant a whole lot of jank and, not necessarily the best graphics in the world and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of out the window these days. Unless it's done on purpose, it's kind of out the window. Like every game, like Jasper was saying, all these games on PC now that I get to experience, that I get to try out, I'm like, dude, this comes from like a no-name studio. This thing's like freaking better than half the games we get from the big publishers now. Like, how is that even possible? Like, this is crazy world that we're living in. Good in golden age. But I can't wait to
games like Path of the Goddess, man. Like,
right, Kinizagami, but that's Capcom doing what they do best back in the 360 era, which is take chances. Do you think they had a massive studio working on Kinizagami? No. I can guarantee you that was a smaller team, right? Just a passionate smaller team. Love it. Love it. Fantastic. Well, let's talk about it, because again, if we get more games and Xbox continues to work on these smaller projects along with the big project, well, that just means more games that Booty can delay. It's going to be amazing. It's just going to be a great time. Of course, let's talk about this real quick. Avowed. Again, I said it earlier. First of all, a lot of people owe a lot of insiders, especially Tom Warren, an apology. You got to admit when you're wrong. If you're going to call him a clown when you think he's wrong, you better admit you're a clown when you screw up. Because again, think what you want of these people. These people have been in the industry for a long ass time. They know a ton of people in a ton of different places and call them friends. And if you don't think friends just because the NDAs don't talk behind the scenes and things don't get discussed and there aren't points where they say, hey, go ahead and you can talk about this if you want to, just don't say anything, don't say any names, you're crazy. Okay. Of course it happens. Tom Warren, Jeff Grubb, Jez, a lot of these guys get information. You can hate how they put it out there. You can hate that it ruins your favorite plastic boxes moment, all that kind of stuff. It happens in movies. It happens everywhere in entertainment. Anytime information can get leaked out, it's going to happen. So guess what? Tom Warren was correct. Okay. And the smoke that we had been hearing and we, told you all when we talked about it, that there was smoke behind the scenes, that there was going to be a delay season this year. And 1 or 2 titles were going to probably be delayed out of Xbox, right? After Stalker 2 got moved. And sure enough, one of the ones we talked about was Avowed. And Avowed officially today from Xbox, just a few hours ago, end of the business, like after end of business Friday, Bad News Friday, back again, folks. They confirmed that they are delaying it till February, what is it? February 18th? February 18th. So my most anticipated title of the year is delayed. Now, I went off a little bit last week, told you that I was taking the selfish entitled gamer route this time around. I can still understand the business side of things. I can still hold 2 competing ideas in my head at the same time because I am an adult. So I understand all the business side, still understand the business side, but I'm still taking the disappointed gamer route here. I think this sucks, and I'm not happy about it, actually. I'm really disappointed. I went off in the DMs earlier. I kind of let off some steam in the DMs earlier about this shit. But as the entitled selfish gamer, because I am a customer of Xbox, I am a consumer, I spend money, my hard-earned money with them, I have a right to be disappointed when something I want doesn't go right. And I wanted Avowed this year. It's my most anticipated first-party title. So I'm not going to hide it. I told you guys, since I started podcasting, I don't hide my opinions just because some people don't like them, or don't want to hear about it, or whatever the shit might be. You all know when you come here from all of us, you get the truth of how we're feeling about that certain topic. So with Avowed, you're going to get me, the disappointed gamer. Okay. I think this is shitty. Okay. The game's ready. I don't want to hear any more about, let them polish it up. We don't want a broken game coming out. Phil came out and really basically said they're just doing it because they want to put it in a better spot for release, which again, I get. Okay. I understand that. So this isn't about Avowed not being ready and needing more time in the oven. This is simply a matter of somewhat of a self-created situation with Xbox having too many games at the end of the fucking year again, after we went through the first half of the year up until May with no first party big AAA games. I didn't make the promises like Phil did that we were going to get 1 AAA game per quarter. That's what they were shooting for. I didn't say that. I didn't create Game Pass, right? And the value that it is. I didn't do that. I take advantage of it. I believe it's the best thing going and best thing since sliced bread. I didn't create any of that. That's not my responsibility. I'm a gamer.
I was there when they did sliced bread.
Right. I want my most anticipated title to come out this year. I have plenty to play. I have more games to play than I can even play right now. Okay. I think we're past all that point, talking about backlogs and all that shit. If you're like me in any way, shape, or form, you have more games than you know what to do with. I've told you all, I probably have games. If they stop making games today, I probably have enough games to last me 3 to 5 years. That's legit. So I'm not talking about any from that perspective. I love that Age of Mythology is coming out this year. Another one of my most anticipated titles. I love that possibly Indiana Jones is still going to make this year too. That's great. That was one of my second most anticipated titles this year. I love all that shit. But my number one was Avowed. I love Obsidian. And this isn't Obsidian dying like some fools out here who wanted to start talking, oh my God. Obsidian's not dead. Xbox is not dead because of this delay. None of that shit's happening. I'm not being melodramatic here. I'm just talking straight as a passionate gamer. I hate this. I wanted Avowed this year. I already went through Starfield delays. You saw me come on here with sunglasses. If you were around that back day, that's where my little emote came from that Caitlin created. Right? I held a funeral service at the beginning of PM in the PM when Starfield was delayed because of how upset I was. I'm upset that Avowed's gone out of this year. I think it's stupid. I think Xbox does, in fact, kind of in a way, really owe us as consumers, as customers for all the years, like 2022. Yes. Is that being entitled? Yes, it is. But I'm not going to be on the other side that says, you're just lucky Xbox gets you anything. Just be happy with whatever they give you. My God, it's a miracle games are made these days. I'm not going to be that dude either. That's fucking bullshit too. So I really wanted Avowed this year. I think they should drop every single game that they have ready this year. If it's a backup, if it's a traffic jam, so be it. It's a fucking traffic jam. They're all in Game Pass. It don't matter. They're going to stay in Game Pass. It don't matter. Don't care about, oh, we got to concern ourselves with relationship with Stalker 2 devs, GSC Game World. No. First party, AAA, big bangers. Xbox has given us Hellblade 2. That's it. We might get Indiana Jones. Okay. I wanted Avowed. I wanted Avowed. And this is a self-created problem from Xbox and Microsoft. Right? This is on Booty's plate. Booty talked about this with all these acquisitions. He was the one who admitted it, that he was going to have problems trying to figure out how to release all these games. Again, not my problem. That's Booty's problem. Call of Duty comes out every single fucking year, folks. It has for decades. It's the number one selling game of every year. Just because now it's first party and it's on Game Pass changes absolutely fucking nothing.
I remember when I was a kid, like sometimes there would be games that come out on the same day. Like you have to go to GameStop and pick up 2 copies. It's like,
correct.
Cool. I guess which one I'm playing first? I don't know.
I don't care. There is never, this gaming industry has gotten so jam-packed. Mav said it in the DMs when I was going off. Just watch next February, a bunch of third-party developers drop some big games in February. Just watch. What are you going to do?
It happens
move
every fucking
again?
year. Like,
what move Avowed again? Yeah. And why February? Why not January? Does Stalker 2 and potentially Indiana Jones really need 3-4 months breathing room? Really? Do they? Completely different kinds of fan bases. Stalker 2 is going to be awesome. There's a whole group of people who've been waiting for over a decade for the next Stalker game. We already know what GSC Game World went through. They got paid. It's coming into Game Pass. People are going to support that studio and buy that game no matter what, whether it came out in the same day as Avowed or not. Not my problem. I want Avowed. I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I'm taking that route. I understand all the business side. I get it. I could totally argue that side too. I totally understand why this is a good move. All that. This time around, I'm done. I'm tired. As I get older, I start to believe more and more in the saying that tomorrow's never promised. Do you know where you're going to be next February? You can guess where you're going to be next February. Or you can say, oh yeah, my life's going to be exactly the same. I know where we're going to be. I'm going to be on the couch. My wife's going to be upstairs. Dogs are going to be laying next to me and the kids are going to be sleeping and I'm going to be playing Avowed. Some of you are great. Let me tell you something. If you haven't lived long enough, 3-4 months, life can change dramatically. And like I said, as I get older, I just realize that, man, I really don't want to wait for stuff anymore, especially when it's ready. So I want Avowed. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll let everybody else jump in here. So let's go to Fuzzy first. Fuzzy, how you feeling about Avowed? You cool with Avowed moving to February? I know you probably got plenty of games to play just like I do. Are you okay with this? Do you think that, maybe Xbox should drop it just because they had lot of open areas, months and years where we didn't get a whole lot from first party? What do you think about Avowed here moving to February?
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed, but not to the point where it ruins my day or anything like that. Like you said, I got tons of stuff to play, and I got a backlog that I'm trying to tackle each day a little bit by a little bit. But I do like the fact that it eliminates any gapping like what we had earlier in this year. So from like January up until Hellblade 2, there wasn't as much of a first party presence. There were other titles that, sure, they were in Game Pass, day one, or some interesting titles that, made it to Game Pass that I hadn't, gotten around to or hadn't picked up prior. So it'll be nice to not have as much of a gap or spacing at the beginning part of next year, but it's something that they're going to have to figure out. If they're going to space things out, have it where they're on this consistent cadence of, every other month or every 3 months or whatever, and that would be great. But I like you said, why not January? I mean, if Indiana Jones is December, shoot for January. It doesn't need that much
Well, the
time.
smoke
'Cause
is Indiana Jones is going to be sooner too, Fuzz. That's the smoke.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think Indiana Jones might be a faster game to complete all the way through. Not saying that it's a short game by any means, but I get the feeling that Avowed, if you just do the story, yeah, they'll probably finish in about the same amount of time. But with side quests, and if you're like me, where you like to explore and go the path that they tell you not to go, kind of thing, most of the time, it's going to take you almost double the amount of hours. So I see Avowed as being over 40 hours, and I see Indiana
Yeah.
Jones being under
10 to
40
20.
hours. So I don't think it needs as much space from Indiana Jones to Avowed. It feels the other way around. Yeah, leave that extra month buffer between the two, but I don't know. I would like to see if Avowed's pushed to February, move something up if you have it in the tuck. If it's ready to go ahead and release it. We still don't have a date for things like Silksong. We don't have a date for Replace, which is probably sooner rather than later. We'll probably find that out later this month
Yeah.
with Gamescom and everything.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of DLCs that I'm looking forward to, like Shattered Space is high on the list, and it's sounding like we might
Yes.
even hear something
Yes.
about Starborn, but
Mm.
that's something that's going to take up some time for me. Diablo 4's expansion is going to take up time for me, so I'm good on games, but like Moody, just have your calendar set in, well, not set in stone, but have it prepared so if something doesn't make a date, put something else in its place. Try to make sure that there's enough spacing where you don't have 4 this month and 0 for the next 2 months. Space them out a bit. Like you can stagger it a little. That would be nice. So that way you get time to complete a game or try a game, complete a game, or at least get most of the way through, and then you can move on to the next one. When you got 4 in the same month, it's like I'm gonna forget those other 2 and then
Also,
probably
this
get
this
myself
literally makes
later.
no sense because they put Forza and Halo Infinite out within like a 3-week period.
Correct.
It's the 2
Yeah.
fucking biggest games that they've had.
Yeah. Well, those 2, they're like, it's not as much overlap in comparison, but I can see some potential overlap with Avowed and some other titles. But I don't know. I would just like for them to kind of get in the habit of spacing things out, just a smidge. Like if it means you have to put one out every month or every other month, great. But 4 in a month, it's like, yeah, I'm probably gonna forget about the other 2 and then be like, oh, they got another one coming out. Oh, damn, I still haven't gotten back to this other title that came out. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine with Avowed being February. It would have been nice if, with them not showing the dates from the past few showcases and whatnot, that they left room for this as opposed to saying 2024. So that way there won't be the people upset about they can't stay on track. Just that's probably part of the reason why they didn't show some dates on things like E-Day and like State of Decay 3 and a couple other ones. But I'm fine with it. I do like your side of it, Pong, where it's like, yeah, if it's ready, release it.
Just-
Like don't hold things up just because, but I also want extra hours in a day and extra days in a week to play
Oh
some of
no,
these games.
I
So
totally get it. I totally get it, Fuzz. And you're right. I mean, again, I understand the business side of it, but okay. Before I pass it over to you, 3-bit,
Mhm.
I also want to say this. Okay, next year, 2025. Okay, now you pushed Avowed, one of your big AAA games, right? From Obsidian, new IP into February, right? Doom, Fable, South of Midnight, right? Potentially Clockwork Revolution. Okay. plus Contraband should be around the corner. It's not first party, but it's second party, right? Still, you're publishing it, so it's your game.
They'll count it as first party, just like
They'll count it as first party, right? Yeah, it's published by XGS. Okay, so that's next year. What else is supposed to be coming out next year, which Booty has already mentioned that they are conscious of? GTA 6. Let's say GTA 6 does hit next year. Now, I know a lot of people, myself included, think it's potentially going to move to 2026. Let's say it does hit. Let's say Strauss gets it out the door next year. I need you all to start thinking about this lineup now. You think Booty's going to line up all those games before Grand Theft Auto comes out? No, of course not. Of course not. He is. What game is most likely holiday of next year out of that group? I would say Fable. Everybody else agree?
Yep.
What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen to Fable? If Grand Theft Auto launches in September or October.
No one's talking about
Push
it.
back to 26th, launch with the Xbox.
I'll tell you what you got to do with Fable at that point. You got to have it as a bundle into the consoles because there'll be a lot of people moving up to new consoles.
Right.
So like throw Fable in there. Like
okay, so then again, let's take Fable. Let's say everybody start getting ready. Fable gets pushed to 2026, right? You still have South of Midnight, Avowed, Doom, and potentially Clockwork Revolution, plus things like Contraband, etc. Still think Booty's going to put those all in the first 7-8 months before Grand Theft Auto 6 hits? Come on, man. We're going to be pushing games. Do
you think Avowed was pushed to early next year because they don't have anything for early next year? Everything's for late next year?
I can't. If that's the case, then we are in big trouble, bro. If they have another year where they have nothing in the first half, if Avowed is the only thing in the first half, there is a serious problem with their schedule. Like, again, I'm not dooming and glooming or anything. Like, the games are coming out. Like, we have an avalanche of games. But then you have a massive scheduling problem if you have nothing else again at the first half of next year except for Avowed. South of Midnight's not ready. Doom's not ready by, let's say, May. Like, wow, man. You gotta, like I said in the DM, like, I'm just throwing this out there because I started thinking about this. All of a sudden, now you're rolling into 2026. How many games is Booty going to have in his back pocket? It's great. Nintendo does this all the damn time. Again, this isn't unprecedented. Nintendo held games for years in the vault, done, ready, just so they gave it the right time to launch it. But we're not talking about Nintendo here. We're talking about Xbox. So Booty's going to have, like, what? We're going to have the best launch lineup in history. He's going to have the entire next gen roadmap already laid out with all the games he's been stockpiling because he keeps moving because it's not the right time. We got 2 minutes. It's just not the right time. Oh God, Grand Theft Auto 6 is out. We can't put anything around Grand Theft Auto 6. Got to give that like 4 or 5 months space. Holy shit. Like, at some point, all I'm saying is you got to drop the damn games. Okay? You can't wait for the best, most precise moment in this industry, because then you're going to have things next year, just like this year, Pal World, Helldivers 2, The First Descendant, games that come out that are black hole games that nobody knew about or expected to be black hole games. Then what? You're still going to have to drop your games at some point. That's where I get frustrated. But anyways, it's 3-bit. Avowed.
Yep.
February. Are you happy about this, sir? Is this going to cause you to smile because you can say to yourself, oh man, that's one less game I gotta play. Oh, I was getting upset that I was gonna have to play so many games this year, but now I got one less one, a big one that I don't have to worry about until next year.
Yeah, it's like a mixture for me. Like, this year, I mean, I'm already having trouble right now with all the games I have in my library, making sure I get through all of it. I could say that in the same breath and be pretty disappointed that Avowed is pushed to next year, because that was a game I was looking forward to. Probably it was just jumping up more and more to my most anticipated of this year, right after Hellblade. Hellblade was my most anticipated. Loved it. Beat it. I'm on my second playthrough, like halfway done with the second playthrough of Hellblade 2. But for the most part, yeah, Avowed was a game I was really looking forward to. And you guys are bringing up conversations I didn't even think about for what they're planning for next year. We did talk about for a while, like, they're going to run into a problem with all the studios and games that they have, figuring out when to release their games. We know they have a lot of games in the pipeline. Now it's just their next problem is, when do you release this stuff? And hopefully it's not too stacked in one section and then completely just empty in another. And I hope that's not an ongoing problem for them for next year and the year after. I hope that it's just steadily release of games and that they don't have to push too many things, even if it makes sense to I don't know, like Avowed could have fit in this year in my opinion. Like, I'm always in the camp at the same time, like, sure, delay stuff, get more polish in the game. I was the few in the delay low camp.
Yeah,
Make
of
sure you
course.
delay Halo.
Oh yeah.
And that could have used some time in the oven, and it hurt because they didn't delay it. I don't think Avowed is in that same sort of
Doesn't
boat.
sound like it.
Yeah, it seems like the game is pretty much done, but now they're just like, well, we have some time, so let's push this here and there. I remember in their last development vlog, where they had feedback from people, was like, hey, I want some better combat. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, let's well, we were gonna do that later on, but hey, shoot, let's do it now. I remember that being a conversation for them. So by the time we see the game, it could be even more better. I'm trying to look at the pros here. It could be even 10 times better in terms of the
Sure.
map, the graphics, the lighting, things
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, it is a disappointment for me personally, because that was the game where I'm like, okay, this is starting to really climb up my most anticipated for this year. And we're waiting in some cases years and years for some of these games. But I think for this year, what I'm going to be looking forward to will be Indiana Jones. That has now jumped up to my most anticipated, for sure. I mean, I love that team that's working on it. I love Indiana Jones as a character. That is now my most anticipated. Now that Avowed is definitely out this year, so
Yeah.
it's disappointing, Pong.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. There could be some pros in terms of polish,
There's
additional
pros.
polish,
Of course there's pro.
but yeah, it is what it is.
It just sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Don't forget, folks, too, there was some smoke that Gears E-Day was going to be ready next year, too. What are they gonna do? They can't delay everything. Well, they can. Booty will. Anyways, let's get out of here. Let's see. Let's go to Jaspy. Jaspy, I don't remember where you were with your Avowed hype. I'm pretty sure it was probably mediocre, wasn't it? Or were you?
No, Avowed's my most anticipated
Okay.
game for Xbox.
Okay.
But
Okay, I
that
couldn't
and
remember
Age
if
of
that was one of your
Mythology.
it's okays or if it was higher than that.
No.
So no.
Age of Mythology and Avowed are like number
Okay.
ones for anticipation for Xbox games at least.
Yeah.
What
do you think?
But I mean, it sucks, but at least for me right now, like I barely have time to sit down at the fucking computer. This is the longest I've
good.
had. Just yeah. So I've been trying to play more.
Everything until I can play again. Just delay everything.
So I've been like trying to play shorter experiences. So if Avowed came out today, I'm like, I'll get to it someday. I mean, so for me, it's not really that big of an issue right now. Like the delay honestly might be better for me, just personally, just because at that point I should be more settled in, so I can actually enjoy it.
Be selfish, Jasper. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm being selfish, so you be selfish too. That's cool. You're selfish in the opposite direction for different reasons. So, you know where you're going to be right now. So that's good. That's good, man. Yeah, no. I just couldn't remember whether or not you were hyped for Avowed or not. I can never remember on those games. So that's good to know that you were looking forward to it. So hopefully you do have time next February to actually jump into it. Psycho.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Hi.
I already had my back and forth with you in the DM, so I know where you stand. So go ahead, cheer it on, brother. Cheer it on, bootlick all you want. Tell everybody how great this delay is and that you're going to finish your entire backlog, which we all know is bullshit anyways, but you're going to finish your entire backlog and you're going to have everything open for February when Avowed drops, and you're just going to spend all your time in Avowed. Go ahead.
What are you talking about? I'm very fucking pissed off about this. I'm angry. You hear it in my voice? No. No. I mean, yes, it fucking sucks. Trust me. Avowed was my anticipated game for 2024, but there's so much shit that I'm okay with it personally because I got Vision of Mana and the Dragon Quest 3 H2D HD. There's so much fucking shit that's coming out with Stalker 2 and everything, and that I'm okay with it because then it leaves me to be able to play it in February. Like I said, would I want it in 2024? Fuck yeah, 100%. Because, like you said, Xbox, for whatever reason, has a horrible, horrible cadence with spreading out their games throughout the year, and it's like they have to wait to the back end to just be like, oh, here we go, and like release one thing in the beginning. So it's like one game and then 6 to 7 months of nothing, and then it's like, oh, here's Aura, here's Age of Mythology, here's Stalker 2, here's what the fucking airplane game and Flight Sim 2024. Here's fucking everything else that they got coming out, and then you got Stalker 2, and then all the third party. You got Star Wars, Dragon Quest, Vision of Mana. There's just so much coming out towards the end of the year that it's like, well, Xbox, you wouldn't have this issue if you, I don't know, fucking release 2-3 games in the span of the first 6 months, and then three games at the end of the fucking end of the year, kind of spread it out evenly. Is Flight Sim 2024 ready?
Psycho just disappointed me more than this fucking announcement. He reminded me that Star Wars Outlaws to come out in like a month, and I won't have any fucking time to play that.
I know, that's what I'm saying. There's so much. That's why I'm not. Now, if this was 2020 and they had to fucking delay this game,
well, this wouldn't be happening because there was
it
nothing
would be
else coming on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it would fucking be horrible that if there was like 1 or 2 games that Microsoft's putting out, and it's like, we'll have to push this one game now. So now instead of having 3 games, we're only gonna have just the 2, and it's like, well, what the fuck? But they do have quite a bit coming out. There's so it sucks. It does. It really does suck. No, trust me.
Just keep looking. Just keep going.
I'm not looking, goddammit.
You're an Xbot. You can't lose your Xbot card. So you just
no.
The greatest move in the history.
He owns a PlayStation Pong. He owns a PlayStation Pong.
And a PC. Don't forget. Now I have a PC, so I'm covered. I have the trifecta of gaming. No, but it's all right. It does suck. It really does suck. A lot of people were waiting for this game, and now that it's getting pushed back, and it's like, okay, Xbox, you really, really need to look at how you release these games. Don't give us Avowed in 2025 in fucking February and nothing until you have this great E3, and then, oh, here we go. Here's a fucking chunk of games again. And it's like, what are you doing? Hey, you if console hardware doesn't matter if you sell or not, if you're pushing for a subscription service, wouldn't want your subscription service to have games coming out on a regular to sustain the people to pay that $20 a month or whatever they pay, if they go.
But it sells, right? When they go down the list and they see all these games available now, they're not looking at the games coming in the future. They're looking at what games are available now. So the more games that are in there, especially your first party exclusive, quote unquote games, right? That we still get on Xbox, right?
Yeah.
Obviously minus the PC side of things, but I'm just saying that the way that everybody talks about exclusives now, we all understand what it means. But those things do count for a lot of people. We see a lot of people that it's all they really want to play is those AAA first party exclusives. And so having them available in Game Pass is a selling point. Not, oh, they're coming later. No, what is available to me now if I sign up today?
Exactly, 100%. And I agree with that. And that's where they need to figure out to have a better cadence, because then you wouldn't have this problem where, oh shit, we have too much at the end of the year, we need to push one back. Because if they had, Aura coming out sooner, if they possibly maybe had, maybe fucking Age of Mythology came out sooner than September. Well, September's not too bad, but
Well, I mean,
still.
that's also how you keep people in, is with constant releases. And if you're just gonna
Yes.
fucking have a 2-month break, then people are
Backloaded.
just gonna cancel.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, if they have a better cadence of games coming out, none of this would be we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, because Xbox would be like, all right, we know what we need to do, and and nothing will be pushed out, delayed, and into the future. Crazy enough that Xbox actually came out and said a fucking date, which I thought we were gonna wait for another fucking 3 months.
No, that
Because
tells me
s-
the game's ready. The game's ready. They
Yeah,
could lock it
exactly.
down. Yeah.
And if the game's ready, then then push something else. Push some
I agree.
Indiana Jones, push that.
It's
You
not,
don't-
yeah, I don't know.
Why-
Again, Indiana Jones is still up there for me too. So like I'm torn there too. Like I just think that your AAA, your big party games, since you didn't have anything the first half of this year, like again, you kind of owe it to the fans to just drop them all and be like, yeah, Christmas time is here. Here's all the games. Have fun. I mean, we deserve that every once in a while. Then start your cadence next year appropriately. But maybe everybody's right. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have anything in the first half. They've looked at it and just said, well, makes more sense for everything, Avowed included, to
And that
give
could
it
be-
its space, and then we won't have this conversation next year of people talking about how we didn't have a first half again, right? And maybe that's part of this decision as well, right? So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Because we were thinking South of Midnight possibly
South of
being
Midnight.
an early
Yeah.
2025. So now if you have an Avowed and then followed by South of Midnight,
Yeah.
that's a
Great
really
start.
good start to 2025. Have one more somewhere in there,
Yeah,
and
get
then
Doom by around E3 time, you get Doom or somewhere in that neighborhood, and then
exactly.
hopefully Fable by the end of the year. If Grand Theft Auto 6 doesn't drop,
Yeah.
right? And then you're good to go. So, I mean, then that's a great year. That's a great cadence, right? That's almost one exactly per quarter. And that's exactly what Phil was talking about, and something we all talked about that would work out perfectly. Then you got things like Contraband, you got other things in there. You still got your Game Pass deals filling it in. You got a bunch of stuff we probably don't even know about coming. You're good. That's great. And it gives you consistency within the Game Pass ecosystem that does draw people in. So
100%.
yeah, no, I agree. Mav, I saved your voice a little bit here, sir. Kept you for last here.
Does Fuzzy get to go?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I started with Fuzzy.
Okay.
Did I start with
sorry.
Fuzzy? Yeah, I started with Fuzzy. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. Yeah, I started with Fuzz. So how dare you? I'm the host.
Sorry.
No, I'm just joking.
It's like on the show right now.
So Mav, obviously, Avowed. Like, this is a good problem for Xbox to have, right, Mav? This is like this is like what we talked about for a long time, that they had so many games, like it could eventually become a problem, right? So this is certainly not a bad thing, because again, everybody's come out to the Xbox themselves, the way that they worded it, the way that Phil said it, is all but confirming that this game is ready to go, and that if they didn't have such a backlog, a traffic jam, that they would launch it. So this is a good problem to have in most cases, especially for Xbox after all these years, right? This is something that we knew would happen, but Mav, personally, because I know you were hyped for Avowed as well, for this year, even though we have more than we know what to do with, and we're adding games daily now to our wish list, like Tempest Rising, that we didn't really have on our radar. Now all of a sudden is one of our most anticipated games this year. How are you feeling about Avowed in February, man?
Well, I just got to turn attention to the screen, and you said it best, I think. Last time this happened. Oh no.
Sorry.
Kate sent me this video.
Oh,
I feel like it will be
First of all,
Yeah, you guys-
gamers.
oh, well, then what are you doing?
The chat,
you
the chat.
for,
You can see it.
Oh, the chat. Oh,
Oh.
see, I don't have
Showing
the
up
chat up. That's why I'm
tonight
like,
PM,
what the fuck is going on?
Um, on this
Starfield.
Oh, is this
tragic day, to say the least.
So bad.
God, this is great.
I know a lot of us are
I don't know how that's a-
grieving right now. So I'm sorry for the somber mood to start the show.
Make sure.
But I am glad to see all these familiar faces, because times like these,
Oh man, this is so sad, Pong.
what was in that Kleenex?
we do
My
boogers
Oh, okay.
have to gather together.
Oh,
And,
I
make
know,
sure
with
we're
them slowing you
supporting each other. I mean,
All right.
oh man.
What episode is that? That was the episode when Starfield was delayed.
Yeah. Official delay.
Yeah. When Starfield was delayed, that was a sad moment.
Yeah. Then we became marchers.
Yeah.
Marcher.
What was that, like November 21 or something?
Yeah. 22.
Or 22? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
22.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I ultimately, man, I think like I mean it was one of my most anticipated games for this year.
Yeah.
And it sucks. I'm not like upset like too much about it just because I know how many games I'm going to get to play. I think the whole idea and concept behind it is stupid about, hey, there's too much, so let's delay it and put it out there, and like let's try and save it for February. I think honestly it's like a brilliant marketing thing they're doing, trying to kind of paint it in that picture. Like, hey, maybe it needed a little bit more time, and they weren't 100% on like if
It was going to be 2.5 weeks after Call of Duty, so I think that's probably what the initial move was for.
yeah, it's just that would have been the case any year. I mean, this was
I know.
what the original plan was.
I
Like,
know.
So for me, it just doesn't make any sense. I understand. I can like the Stalker. It can kind of almost make sense, but it's not even not really then, because it's like one's a fantasy RPG and one is like completely like post-apocalyptic like nuclear wasteland, like open world game. So like I don't think there's too much interference with things. I'm more in the camp of like, if something's ready, release it. But it's interesting how the conversation is all like, hey, we're moving this game out because there's just too much. We have too many games, which is the crazy thing for me. And like, it's like shows the difference before they're able to use that strategy now with this marketing with that, like they turn this negative into like a positive. Because that's ultimately what they're trying to do, is turn a negative into a positive with the spiel on all that kind of stuff, right? Like, oh, look, we're just so strong now. We have to move our own games out of our own windows. And we're doing it for the game and for you, right? And for me, I'm like, not really. I mean, like,
No.
like, I would rather just play the game if it's ready, please. Like, I've been waiting for it. So if it's ready, just give it to me and I'll be super happy to play it. Thanks. So for me, yeah, maybe it could have a little bit more success if it's pulled away into a different window, but then you can never count on anything. So that's the other part of the strategy I think is stupid. Every single year, it gets fucking like loaded in January, February because of games moving out of Call of Duty or moving away from this or that. And it just happens every single year. And I don't think this year's going to be too much difference. I think Avowed is just the first one to fall into that category right now. Right. And then you'll see more and more. And then they'll be like, okay, well, oh shit, here's these other 3 or 4 games that are all launching within this 1 month window. And did we really accomplish anything by moving it? No, not really. Like, you can just never really count on any of that stuff. I think it's just let the game stand on its own. If it's ready, release it. If it needed more time, delay it. And just say, hey, we felt like we needed more time to work on this game to give you the best product, and can't wait for you guys to play it. And I'm fine with that too, if that's the case, because there's so much to play. That they're in a position of strength because they have that cadence, right? If they did decide to delay it to start to broaden their cadence out, they're trying to fix that problem that they've had for numerous years, and this is their solution to do that, then maybe that makes sense too, because they got to fix that because they can't keep having like long windows of no releases. So maybe that would be the solution to fixing that problem. I could buy that. But then that also says, like, why was it ever originally planned for November in the first place? What was originally planned for next year in that same window? So, ultimately, like, I'm not like upset. I got plenty of stuff to play. I just don't like the strategy of moving stuff out of the way for all these other kind of things and stuff. And there's not like this monster game right there. I think that's too much of an interference with the kind of game that Avowed is. And I think it would have been fine if they released it, if it's ready. So anyway, I would have loved to see it, but we'll have to wait till February. It's not a huge wait. It's an extra few months. I'll be fine. I got other games that I'm super anticipating and excited for this year. So ultimately everything's good, but it does suck, and it's just crazy that this negative has been flipped, right? Somehow, know. The other thing that I think is even more interesting, that we just kind of got the roadmap for 2025 of cadence, I think.
Kind of. Because
the order for all the games on that graphic they put were like an order of releases.
Yeah.
So I think this graphic is actually a hint at what the cadence of releases are for the big games of next year, especially with Avowed being there for the first one in 2025. I think we can kind of anticipate what the games and the cadence is going to be for next year. So if Avowed is February, then I would assume South of Midnight, maybe May, fall into that Hellblade 2-ish time. Doom Dark Ages, late summer, August, September. And then
I feel like we've done this the last 3 years, and it's all been in the year.
Fable in the fall, right? Now
when Call of Duty releases again,
and then Call of Duty in November. I mean, we got the cadence. We got the cadence for 2025. Nobody's even talking about this.
That's the guess. I mean, but that's something that we all talked about too, right? We guessed this. I mean, we knew South of Midnight was going to be early, right? We figured Doom would be in the middle. We figured Fable would be towards the end of the year, right?
Yeah, it just kind of confirms that.
Yeah, that kind of confirms that. I mean, I guess you're right. If you're going to take this as, but that means that Indiana Jones is early, because Shattered Space is now what Warren reported for sure September, right?
See, this is the one, like the to be announced ones aren't like.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, if you're going to take that, they did put Indiana Jones right. Flight Simulator. But see, Flight Simulator is November 19th. So how does that work? So yeah, this doesn't actually work out.
Maybe they moved Indiana Jones up to November.
Well, supposedly the word was that Indiana was going to go earlier. So we will see. We will see if that's true.
And maybe Towerborn is like a December thing.
Towerborn is such a small.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever. I'm looking forward to Towerborn. It looks cool as hell. But it's a small title. It doesn't even, like, phase any of it. Like Aura is like them putting World of Warcraft: The War Within here. I'm like, really? I mean, yes,
Yeah.
it's your first party title, but bro, come on. Like, this isn't like, I don't know. It's just weird when I see some of that stuff. But yeah, no, you're right, Mav. Next year, I definitely think it lines up with everything we kind of guessed with how things were going, right?
Yeah.
This is the way it was going to line up.
Man,
I can't believe that Revolution's not going to be out next year, though.
Yeah, well, this says and more.
I am more, but I
Yeah.
just can't. How active they've been and how good that game looked with what they showed. I gotta believe Clockwork Revolution's ready. You're gonna be ready. Man, do I gotta wait till 2026 for that too, bro? I don't know. It's gonna be a good year next year. But like I said, how are they gonna squeeze it all in? That's the question. Are they going to avoid the Switch 2 launch next year? That's going to be massive. Like, are they going to avoid that too? Is Booty thinking about the Switch 2 launch? And Grand Theft Auto 6, you're wiping out months. So how are you going to pull this off?
Yeah, it's be interesting.
It is.
I mean, they got to figure out like how to make sure the games are spaced well.
Yeah.
But if they're not, then you just got to deal with it and just release them.
Right.
When they're ready.
Right, when they're ready.
So
When they're ready.
I don't know.
Oh, man. Legendary Yobi, why do you have a problem with my funeral? Bro, Starfield Delay was a very sad day, man. And that was made worse because Caitlin slowed it down. If you go back and watch the show, I didn't talk like that. That just makes it worse.
Dearly beloved.
I did the whole Prince thing. Come on, man.
So,
yeah.
But we got to pour one out for Gameinformer.
Yeah, we do. I was just going to say we need to get everybody out of here, but I was going to go around and get everybody's, give me your moment during your outros. Just give me your thoughts on Gameinformer and what it meant to you. And if you have any fond memories, specifically a Gameinformer, please, because for anybody who doesn't know, Gameinformer officially closed up shop today. This was they made a post and said this is the day, and the entire staff was let go. So there is no more Gameinformer at all. We still use Gameinformer on Living Split Screen. Mav and the crew uses an FSP for the upcoming releases that we go through the next week. We're not going to be able to do that anymore. But Gameinformer has been around for an extremely long time. So, and they have a history within the industry. They set a lot of standards that I wish the industry would go back to. And I'll save my thoughts for my outro. But obviously, the past journalism used to be really, really good in this industry, right? I've certainly said my piece about what I think about nowadays, but back in the day, and Gameinformer was in a lot of ways leading the way. So I will talk about that when I get my outro. But everybody, if you want to give me any thoughts on Gameinformer, any favorite memories of Gameinformer, or anything like that, please do so on your way out. So we're gonna get everybody out of here, though. It has been 3 hours. This is past me. Oh my god! I got
holy shit!
So
yeah, it's 1 in the morning. Holy fuck!
Yeah, we got a full panel. Lots to talk about.
Boys.
It's been great. So let's start with the spaceman. Let's start with the Jasper actually guy. Jasper, were you even old enough to remember Gameinformer at this point?
I was.
Okay.
I actually, when my GameStop membership, it came with it used to, and like every day, like I would go home from school, be like, "Is today the day I get a new Gameinformer?" Like it was so fun, like getting those little magazines, and then doing the quizzes in the back they have sometimes. See if you actually know the game industry,
right?
Nice.
But yeah, those are. But Gameinformer died a long time ago for me. Once the GameStop went to digital and they stopped mailing me shit, I'm like, whatever, fuck you.
Yeah.
But other than that, yo, check me out, Lord Jasper, Twitter, Lord Master Jasper, YouTube. Who the hell knows where I'll be or if I'll have time to do anything? So follow me there, I guess, and see you later. Going back to space. I can grow.
It almost sounded like Psycho there, like you're gonna go into a different kind of space. But thank you, Jasper, for joining us tonight. Joining the fam, man. Appreciate any time you give us, man. And it's always great to hear your voice. Miss you so much, brother. So thanks for being here with us tonight. Let's go to the 3-bet. 3-bit.
Yeah.
Memories of Gameinformer. What Gameinformer meant to you, to the industry, and give us your outros, brother. What you got coming up with Pixelated Echoes or whatever else you got going on, man?
Yeah. Gameinformer member. Dude, I just love the covers. I would whenever I think of Gameinformer, I remember like specific covers that I would just stare at for so long. The Batman one and a couple of Borderlands had a cool one. They just had really great covers whenever they mess with the developers. Like, hey, make a cool special edition for the game. And something that was really cool about Game Informer was the in-depth review or interviews with the developers that you would get sometimes that you wouldn't get anywhere else. Like it used to be the place where if you really wanted to know more about a game or story or some sneak peek, that was kind of the place to go, where you could find out additional information about a game. This was before really, and I mean, we had like G4 and stuff like that, but Gameinformer for me in the past was always that one place that I love to just get my news. So definitely saddened for the people over there who got laid off, but I don't know. I don't know where gaming journalism is headed nowadays. We constantly talk about that on our shows.
Shitter.
It's not good. Yeah, it's not good. In terms of where you guys can find me, I'm on Twitter at i3bit. I have a couple of just random things popping up, right? So there's another Deadpool video I was working on throughout this show. You'll probably see that tomorrow. I just been trying to brush up on my 3D animation skills. So you'll just see random videos. Pixelated Echoes is going to have a special show. This is Fuzzy. This is the first time Fuzzy's hearing about it too. This will be a one-on-one show though with this guy who wrote a book called My Vampire System, and I will be interviewing him. So that's going to be a good show, and then we have our regular show on Pixelated Echoes on Sunday. So check out 2 shows coming up for Pixelated Echoes. Other than that,
Hope you're in Georgia. Watch out for storms.
yeah, oh my gosh. It was so many storms this week. Like almost every day was a storm. But that's pretty much where you guys can find me. Great show. It's always fun doing shows with you guys. I can't always make it on Fridays, but thought I could make it with this one, and I'm glad I did because I got to see Jasper and don't get to do a lot of podcasts with Pong and Psycho. What the heck? So I'll see you guys, brothers, here, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, 3-bit. Appreciate you so much, man. It's always good to talk with you, man. You know that. I miss you, man.
Yeah.
Let's go to Psycho. Psycho, you jumped in here late.
Yeah.
But you brought the regular Psycho energy, man,
Yes,
which
I
I gotta appreciate. Even though you didn't stand on your bootlicking, you backtracked off of that. But I still love you, brother. Thanks for being here, man. Give me, you're working for GameStop right now, but give me your some thoughts, man. Gameinformer through the years for you in the industry.
To me, Gameinformer has always felt like it's been the magazine for the gamer, because you always had the fan service drawings in the front.
Mm-hmm.
You always had the great in-depth articles, the non-clickbait, non-biased reviews, in-depth reviews when you actually got, because they measured, audio, the controls, all the different categories when you do a review, that we kind of wish that they had now that other journalists would use, but they really did their due diligence and really brought a different take and really showed that a genuine score for the game. You didn't feel like PlayStation got a bump or Nintendo got a bump because it's the fan favorite and things like that. It was like neutral across the board. Really, like I said, it just felt like that magazine was for us gamers at heart, no matter what console you gamed on, no matter what, you know, what your thoughts were. It just really gave you a good idea of what the game could be before, internet really taking over from the very beginning. Because signing up to, the pro membership, or back then I think it was like the elite or whatever the fuck it was called, the membership. But Gameinformer, that's where you saw it. It was sitting next to the original Xbox magazine. So I pick up one of those and get a free Gameinformer because of because of my pro membership, and it was like the best of everything. I got the exclusive stuff for the OXM and the free demo, and then the other stuff for the other platforms. You got really great reviews, and that's what I'm going to miss the most is just such a great, and you can't deny how amazing a lot of the cover arts were for those. And it was a gaming magazine that to this day no one can hold a torch to, and it's yeah. and it's just really sad to see this to happen, and and it's just
it's the end of era, brother.
Yeah, and with them going away, I think now it leaves the door open to Pandora's box for these journalists to not be use integrity and really be honest and just have an unbiased opinion on.
There's not a lot left. They're all owned by like one corporation
that's ran by IGN.
Yeah, that just happens to be partners with PlayStation. Yep. That's another.
That's the thing, and that's where Gameinformer stood apart, and that's unfortunately now it happened in a time where things like physical media is going away, and it's for us old heads, it's a hard thing to let go. It really is.
Old
Pause.
hard heads.
But sorry, chat, to bring you guys down. You can find me on social media, where I make my some really great takes, and you can find me on. Sorry, I'm trying to say that with a straight face. No, chat, thank you for coming out. Thanks for hanging out for the last fucking 3 hours. I had to work tonight, but I was listening in, and great to have you guys come out tonight. And Pong.
Yep. Tamales, calm down. I know 3-Bit looks like he smells good, but I don't know if he'd appreciate you taking a big old sniff of him. Anyways.
What am I missing?
Maybe he smells like tamales.
Maybe he does smell like tamales.
It smells like broccoli. No,
Fuzzy Belvedere, Mr. Smooth himself, sir. Great to hear you. Since we've been off the shop for a little bit. Always great to be on a show with you, brother. Thank you for being here again, as always. Even though you are traveling, even though you are on one of those wife vacations that she forces you to go on, and yet you still somehow have like a great time.
I just took a picture with Freddy Krueger today.
I think Fuzzy just plays it up to her like, oh, fine, oh, cool.
I feel like he's been on one like every month this year.
He has.
Yeah, like
this is retired life.
In the last month.
Whoa.
Oh, hey, Furious me.
This is Wifey.
Hi, Nurse Caitlin.
So I don't know if you guys know or not. You know Scott Schwartz out of the Christmas Story? He was Flick.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I got a picture with him.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's freaking amazing. I watched the Christmas Story. That was our family tradition. So we watched it every single year, multiple times.
Every year.
Crazy.
Same.
I used to go to the Christmas Story house.
That's awesome.
Gosh, that's cool.
That's so dang cool. See, Fuzzy's having a great old time. Yeah, he's forced to go do this. Fuzzy. Fuzzy, what are your memories, sir, of Game Informer, and what do you feel about them going away? And where can everybody find you, man, when you're not traveling the world?
All right. So more recent memories, I'm gonna miss the website for tidbits. They were probably the most reliable source without having to dig every nook and cranny as far as for what's coming up for the week and stuff. So I'm gonna miss that. But from like the printed media standpoint, like having an actual magazine that you could read and get updates on some of the stuff that you were looking forward to coming out later this year. Um, just having like some of the tips and suggestion stuff in there, and the cover work. Like I remember a few years ago, they were like, there was rumors that they were kind of hurting for money. I mean, that was the case with pretty much all printed media, and I would have loved to have them recreate the covers as like full, like almost like movie size posters. And
Yeah.
if they did that, if it as long as it's not like $500
Right.
or even like a god awful amount of money kind of thing, I would buy some of them, because like a lot of those books or like a lot of the magazines from over the years, like I have it with the official collector's edition of that game, or like the strategy guide for that game, along with the physical box art or the metal case or whatever for the game sitting on a bookshelf. And it's like, oh, I just like having that little collection. It's like, oh, I got the one for even though it was a Mass Effect Andromeda, I got the book for Andromeda. I got the one where they had the cover for Game Informer there, and I have the physical copy box there. And it's like, oh, just have each one of those things sectioned off on a bookcase. But it's sad to see them go, because they were, probably the least PlayStation leaning
Yes.
magazine out
Mhm.
there, which was a refreshing take on a lot of things. Um, but printed media in this day and age just isn't going to cut it. And I wish they would have found other ways to make it work.
Yeah.
Like I said, if they ever had the wherewithal to make those covers into posters, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that would buy them, as long as they're reasonably priced. Um, for like wall art or something like that. But it's a shame.
It is.
But I think it was Psycho had made mention of it, or maybe it was Hubert that made mention. It just opens up the door for somebody else to kind of slide in there, I guess.
Mhm.
We'll see who in the future, kind of takes that torch and runs with it. But sad times, but we'll manage. But other than that, it was awesome being on here with you guys tonight. Just to shoot the shit kind of thing, and talk about all the craziness that's been happening in gaming space for this past week. It all seemed like it just decided this week everything was going to blow up at once, kind of thing. But so glad to be here with you guys. Thanks to everybody in the chat for coming out. If you guys want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, or now even horror movie related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. Always on Fun Speculations channel for FSP on Mondays and Xbox Ultimate on Fridays. Double Barrel Gaming on Mondays and Fridays as well for Xbox Lunch Break Special, Breakfast with Boom. Shop Podcast, I'm not sure if we're having one this Saturday, but I'm pretty sure we will, considering the news that's been going around and stuff like that. And then looking forward to also Pixelated Echoes on Sunday. So it's going to be a fun time, especially with a lot of these games coming out here soon too, and can't wait for it. So awesome being on here with you guys. Thanks again.
Awesome, Fuzz. Thank you, brother, for so much, especially since you are traveling and on the road, man. Never expect you to show up, brothers, but that's awesome, man. You guys, you and the wife, you continue to have a great time. Enjoy yourselves.
Yeah,
So
go
you
take
deserve it.
pictures with more crazy,
Yeah.
cool, famous people.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, it's great, Fuzzy. And then complain about it that you were forced to do this. Anyways, Mav, you toughed it out, brother. You crawled out of the hospital bed all the way to the chair. You pulled yourself up into the chair, minus the oxygen mask that you needed just to barely survive. You've been taking little breaths just to make sure that you could stay conscious with us today, and you're still here, man. And so we appreciate it. You might only have hours left, and you decided to join Xbox Ultimate today. Amazing performance, sir. A legendary performance, I might add, in the podcasting world. For you to just pull it out, man.
Every second counts.
Every second counts. You want to spend it with these.
You gotta give it all while you can. Right.
What are your thoughts on Gameinformer if you can focus enough through the pain? And where can everybody find you if you're still around?
If I can manage to get my words out about my memories of Gameinformer magazine. No, like my overall, with Gameinformer, it was one of my favorite magazines. I had many favorite gaming magazines. OXM was one back in the day. GamePro was probably my ultimate favorite when I was younger. But Gameinformer was one that lasted the longest because it was the mainstay that stuck around, right? It stuck around for years, mainly because of the GameStop thing, right? And I remember like having the Gameinformer magazine and always having the power up rewards card or whatever, and doing that thing. And I had just over time accumulated so many damn magazines, and I don't have any of them anymore, but I remember being concerned that my shelves were going to collapse from the weight of my fucking gaming magazines. I mean, they just were like this tall, like all the way across, right? And it was heavy. I think when we did one of our moves, we ended up like getting rid of them or losing them or something. I can't remember exactly, but Gameinformer always had, like Psycho said, the amazing art. It was always very neutral. It always celebrated the games the most, and it also did a great job with the review system for the most part. Like, I mean, there's still like things you can point to here and there and critique, just like every gaming site, but it's just one of the last mainstays of traditional gaming journalism and games media dying. So it's very sad. I thought they did it right. My favorite probably moment with Gameinformer was when the lead up to Skyrim started happening. They did the first reveal was on the Gameinformer magazine of the logo, and they had a puzzle to solve. And I remember, like, I was like, I got to be one of the first ones to finish this damn puzzle. And I sat there, and because I just had to know what it was, because like at this point I was already a huge Oblivion fan. This was a follow up to like Oblivion, the next Elder Scrolls game, and Todd Howard's next game. I was like, what is this? What is it? What does it say? I have to know what this puzzle is. I have to know what it says. And it was like either spelled out Dragonborn or Dovahkiin. I can't remember what the puzzle was, but it's one of the two, right? And I finished that puzzle. I'm like, that was awesome. Just in that little thing of whatever that was, it was just an awesome, fun, like little experience that I had like with this magazine. And like, they always did a great job. So I'll miss them. They had a good website too. You know, they did good with that. But yeah, I don't know what GameStop's going to do now for all the members that have paid for their subscriptions and stuff, like as part of the perks and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But we'll see, man. It would be nice in the absence of any really big gaming magazines left if somebody out there was like, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to go out there and let's form a games media company that has integrity, that prints physical magazines, and maybe there's a market for one, right? One good one, and start somewhere and just grow from small and see what happens. I would like to see it, something come from the ashes of these great media companies that used to exist, because what we see now with everything being controlled by Ziff Davis pretty much is just not what I like to see.
No.
So
No,
I'm
sure
just
not.
gonna warn everyone now. If you try to start a magazine business in 2024, good luck.
yeah,
good
small,
luck.
go small. I'm not
Small,
saying
there is some small publications doing pretty well for themselves out there. They're just really expensive, but they're on totally different topics than gaming. But it'd be interesting if somebody tried for sure.
yeah, just start small and like go and just see what you can develop, man. There's a lot of cool stuff that people do now with these things. Access is the key part to that. You got to have the right people with the right access, you know.
Yep. We got coming up.
Oh,
Anything?
yeah.
You got any plans? You do?
Well, now that I've
Besides, if you're alive.
well,
I mean,
here's the thing.
again,
I had canceled all my plans because I thought I was going to be dead. So, I don't have anything planned coming up. But we'll
Ken Bardu's journey continue.
Eventually, he's still recovering from his depression after his loss in the Bardu Bowl against the South Carolina Gamecocks, and his return. And
God, that crowd must have been rough. Was it at South Carolina?
is at South Carolina.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I was dominating the game. I was doing great, and then it fell apart. Fell apart in the fourth quarter.
Weird.
It's a shame.
Never
Yeah.
happens to you.
No, never. And then but look, I'll probably maybe if I feel up to it, I'll do some more streams like that this weekend. But then, hopefully a full slate next week. FSP, PM and the PM, Xbox Ultimate, all next week. Get back on track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hope you make it through the weekend, man.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But hey, Pong, thanks for hosting this.
Yeah.
Like this was like the most ultimate Xbox Ultimate we've had in a long time.
A long time, bro.
We actually had news to talk about.
We did.
So thanks.
After like
You did
3
great.
weeks, bro. No. Happy to be here. Happy to help out, brother. So obviously love joining everybody here, and obviously to have a full crew tonight with Jaspy showing up and 3-Bit and Psycho all being here too on top of it. Just amazing. And chat, you guys were awesome coming back out. Again, Mab hasn't been able to do much due to his sniffles. So thank you all for being here with us on a Friday night. Appreciate you so much for being here. It was an awesome night. Good talks. Thank you all for putting up with me, being in the lead chair instead of Mav, who is one of the masters around here. So, as far as Gameinformer goes, it's the end of an era. Like I said, those of you that don't know my history, I actually worked at Funkoland back in the day, which was the Midwest version of GameStop before they sold out to GameStop, right? So I worked at Funkoland. Gameinformer started in 1991. It was started in Minneapolis, right? I'm in Minnesota, so my hometown, right? They've done their latest work over the past few years. I've not been fans of like I was in the past. Everything in journalism changed a long time ago. But man, back in the day, Gameinformer, you had your EGMs, you had your Game Pros, you had your Next Generation magazine. Of course, you had your Dreamcast magazine, you had PlayStation magazine, you had Xbox magazines. You had magazines from so many different sources. Gameinformer was the one I look forward to, along with Next Generation, for a small company, for a small startup magazine like Gameinformer was. The quality that they put in their magazines was right up there with Next Generation. For people who don't know what Next Generation magazine was, bro, that was like the highest quality magazine ever, like for video games. It was ridiculous, and it cost. It was like, even back then, it was like $7 an issue or $8 an issue, which was outrageous. But I used to buy them because they were so nice. But Gameinformer was up there, and Gameinformer's journalism, when you had your Andy McNamara's back in the day, Andrew Reiner's back in the day, Matt Miller's back in the day, like those dudes and their teams that they had underneath them were some of the highest level professionalism you found in this industry consistently. Their reviews were consistent. Again, as everybody's pointed out, neutral publication, never showed favoritism one way or the other. The only thing they ever showed favoritism to was whatever that cover game was.
Yeah.
And when you got that magazine, whatever was on that cover, you knew you were going to be hyped through the roof by the time you got done with that issue, because their cover stories, second to none, in-depth interview, they were bringing information that nobody else had. They were getting first looks like IGN gets first looks now. It used to be Gameinformer for their magazines that used to get the first looks behind the scenes. I still remember when I got the Gears of War edition for Gameinformer. Mind blowing, because they were talking about Unreal Engine, how it was changing everything. And then they started showing some of the screenshots they had behind the scenes that nobody had seen before. And it was like, holy shit. What is this? Like this, what is this Gears of War? All their cover stories were like that back in the day. Every time I got that magazine in the mailbox, I looked at that cover and I was instantly like, oh shit, I gotta read that. What is this? What is this game? Oh my God. Sometimes it was something you heard about, you knew was coming, but nobody had gotten that first interview yet. Sometimes it was something that nobody had really heard of yet, and they were showing up. Bold Alpha pointed out a good one too. The Infamous cover for Gameinformer was fantastic. I was like, oh my God, I got to play Infamous as soon as I read that issue. So Gameinformer to me, again, what they were in the past is what I remember them for. The reviews, like Psycho brought up, we've brought it up before when we're talking about current reviews, how they used to break it down. They weren't the only ones breaking it down into different topics. But again, their writing staff used to be some of the best writers, and all of them would cover games that they enjoyed back in the day. And so their breakdowns or reviews in the genres that because again, they did it the right way. They had people that enjoyed that genre, not necessarily were fans of just the game itself, but enjoyed that genre, so that they could break down the game in which you needed to know about. For if you were an RPG player, you had a writer who played RPGs breaking down that RPG game and would know how to explain it, so that you as a big RPG fan would go, oh shit, yep, I'm in. That sounds good. They did such a great job of that. Again, they are a part of this industry's history, a big part of it. Again, small time magazine that grew up big. I think at one time they had over 8 million subscribers at one point. Unbelievable story to come out of nowhere. I think they started out as like a 6-page. I think Psycho, you said it right. They were like a small like pickup. You pick it up off the counter sometimes, and it was just like the small. They really started in '91. I was 16, so I think they started out really small because we didn't have GameStop quite yet. I think GameStop showed up here at 17. I think when they bought Funkoland. But I think it started out as a much smaller magazine. Just an impressive history. And again, this is the end of an era. It is a change from how things were done, just like physical media going away. It's sad because I love magazines. I carried around to Mav's point, because I collected them. I collected magazines. I had 4 huge tubs full of magazines, EGMs, again, Gameinformers, Next Generation, all my Dreamcast magazines. I had them all stored. Last 2 moves ago, I finally dumped them, and I'm sad I dumped them.
That's like almost like exactly the same thing, I think.
Bro, it sucks, bro. It sucks so bad, but you just get sick of toting them around forever.
Yeah.
They're so heavy.
Those are so fucking heavy.
But man, I love books. I love having them in my hands. I've read digital stuff. It's not the same. Having something physical in your hands, receiving it through the mail for these types of magazines were just special moments, man. So, pour one out for Gameinformer and for the old crew. Like I said, the Reiners, the McNamara's, the Millers back in the day. Even if I don't agree with some of their stuff these days, because they've changed as people and the kind of world's changed too. Back in the day, they were true gamers, always have been true gamers, have been in this industry for a long time. And back in the day, they did things the right way. And that's why they saw so much success. And it was a big part of my video game history to get my Gameinformer every single freaking month. So shout out to Gameinformer. I'm gonna miss them. It's sad to see him go. Hopefully, the digital age, hopefully people continue to post pictures and we get all their back issues somewhere lined up, because it's always cool to go back and read how people wrote back then and what they talked about certain games. But man, what a time, man. What a time to be alive, man, when Gameinformer was at its peak. So shout out to everybody there. As far as me, you guys know the drill. Pong Soul X, formerly known as Twitter. Pong Soul on the Xbox. Pong Soul on Steam, Epic, GOG. You find me, I'll find you. Tomorrow morning, set those alarms. Steel Rain and I will be going live, raw and uncut, and Steel is on his night shift this week, which means he is going to come in ready to rock and roll. I'm going to have to try to match that energy because tomorrow morning, live in split screen, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3+ hours. Buckle up, get ready for that. And then again, don't know for sure if we'll have the Shop podcast. So, but keep your eyes and ears open if we do. Shop podcast, PTK Blam's channel, of course, Fuzzy Belvedere, myself, and usually a guest or two, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time tomorrow night. So pay attention. I'll let you know, and PTK will let you know if we're going live on that. And then, of course, next week it starts all over again. Tuesdays is Double Barrel Gaming. Mr. Boomstick is the man of the hour, 5 days a week, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time, every Tuesday for all good things green on the Xbox Factor podcast. Join that great crew over there. But Thursdays is when we really start and kick things off. And if Mav's still around, PM and the PM will be back, hopefully. If he can breathe, if he can speak, we'll be here. Pong and Mav in the PM, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. And then hopefully back here again, God willing, for another episode of Xbox Ultimate. Listen, y'all, it's a golden age of gaming. It is. Hope you have a fantastic weekend, or if you're already into your weekend, hope it continues to be great. Get out there and play some of these freaking amazing games, please. Play what you love what you play. Thank you for joining us on Xbox Ultimate 194. Thank you for putting up with me as your host tonight. Continue your prayers for Mav, and we'll see y'all soon. Mav, get us out of here, brother.
Thanks for your thoughts. Bye.